10 years from now, a catastrophic war will completely destroy the Eastern Kingdom Federation. To prevent this absolute catastrophe, the man knew he had to become a patron to future villains. But he never expected his quiet life to escalate this fast. Before this, he was just a corporate slave working 78 hours a week. Then he suddenly woke up inside the brutal fantasy role-playing game he used to play obsessively. But there was a catch: he was completely illiterate in this world. Still, getting served constant gourmet meals and having hot baths prepared before bed felt absolutely amazing. Even if his new body was just a spoiled, useless young master of an earl. Frankly, his luxurious life was a massive upgrade from his soul-crushing corporate job. But his cozy peace shattered completely when the maid warned him his brothers would return tomorrow. He didn't even seem to recognize his own family, which she immediately noticed. That name was Palatio. His heart stopped as he dunked his head deep into the bathwater. Suddenly, everything clicked. He was inside the turn-based game Psychedelia. A dark world where 5 catastrophic sins always appeared to wipe out humanity. Wrath, greed, sloth, pride, and obsession. Once they showed up, the entire kingdom, the cities, and all the nobility would perish horribly. Their eldest son, Leo, was the notorious king of the red light district. The second son, Tonio Palatio, was a notorious drug lord who poisoned the city. Their whole household was basically just a side quest before the real game even started. The story forced players to investigate the Palatio house within the Asteria kingdom. They ran drug trafficking and a dark organization called Avalon. This dark quest was so twisted that it honestly gave him absolute chills as a player. And the Palatios were always the very first family targeted and brutally slaughtered when the sins awakened. Now he was stuck as the doomed, useless third son, Alan Palatio. He would gladly choose his terrible 78-hour corporate work week over this absolute nightmare. A decade of luxury meant nothing if a gruesome execution was waiting for him. To make matters even worse, this character has absolutely zero combat power. Knowing the exact timeline of the next 10 years practically turned him into an omniscient prophet. By predicting the future, he could stop this world from completely falling apart. If he could guide the 5 future sins, he might actually get his peaceful retirement. Luckily, right now, they were still innocent children. 2 months later, he rescues a group of orphans from a testing center. He leaves them with Yusha, accompanied by his loyal knight, Evan. Alan casually claims he is exceptionally good at reading people's potential. The knight agreed, but he secretly struggled to understand his master's cold, calculated shifts. He simply could not get used to the young master's sudden change. The old Alan was always an open book, but this new version was completely unreadable. The possession had permanently locked his face into an expressionless stare. But Evan is a rare character, always remaining fiercely loyal despite constant betrayals. Now they had to uncover the dark mysteries surrounding the young girl, Yusha. Even with eyes that had seen many things as a mercenary, she did not look normal. She possesses a terrifyingly calm strength that makes no sense for her age. He advises bringing her in, knowing there's no point in keeping her locked away. Instead of abusing her powers, Alan decides to offer her a place in his grand plans. After all, Yusha is a non-human who contracted with terrifying otherworldly entities. Unlocked power, she will become the wrath of the 5 great sins, wiping out hundreds of thousands of lives from this land, but that wrath never awakens if she grows up. In total peace, he plans to remove this ticking time bomb, letting her live normally. He gives the knight Evan a cheap excuse, saying it is not time to release her. From her prison cell, nobody must speak of this, and they need to send extra funding to the orphanage instead. He also sends a personal letter to Yusha to check on her. He asks the knight to comfort her since she has suffered through so much trauma. Evan will enter her cell to hand over this message of comfort, though he has no idea if it helps. The letter has a hidden purpose. It is written to trigger a specific phrase he has seen dozens of times, a spell to tame non-human monsters. In the original story, the archbishop called her the sin of wrath and demanded her surrender, chanting a prayer about the agony of darkness and fading light. Back then, trying to calm her down was a total failure because it was already far too late. The moment the high priest failed, the brutal struggle began. But this time she is still a child. It is not too late to change her fate. Next, he must figure out how to tame a beast. Using nothing but a simple phrase, let us hope this actually works. Because trying to understand how these lunatic, God-worshipping sins think is impossible. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, Evan feels an unsettling, icy chill. Radiating from the girl, it is a completely emotionless aura, thick with heavy mana. She looks up and asks if Alan sent this message. Her tone shifts, demanding to know why her master refuses to keep her by his side. Evan stands paralyzed. This level of raw power is only possible for those who have reached absolute mastery. He quickly repeats Alan's words, saying it is simply not time yet. Hearing this, she calms down immediately. It is a secret promise only her master would know, and she understands. This quiet child is the future Blood Queen, the Sin of Wrath, Yusha. Meanwhile, Alan is just trying to get some sleep and enjoy his comfortable life. But rest is a luxury he cannot afford the moment he wakes up. Night arrives with some urgent news. They successfully secured the second child. As requested, she is safe and being treated with the utmost care. After they rescued her from that illegal slave market, but then, the second son of Count Palatio, Tonio, kicks the door wide open. He mocks Alan, asking why an illiterate fool is pretending to read a book. The arrogant brother demands answers. Honestly, how does Alan put up with this? He wants nothing more than to break his nose, but he forces himself to hold back. Alan humbly bows, offering to leave so his brother can have the library. Suddenly, a sharp dagger flies past them, thudding into the wall. "Shut up, you're making too much noise." The first son, Leopadio, steps inside. He complains that seeing his brother this early in the morning makes him sick. He tells the junkie to get lost, prompting an immediate, angry shoutback. In the game, the county of Palatio collapsed fast, yet their actual power seems far greater than expected. Right now, these siblings are locked in a vicious war to become the next family head, a true battle of shadows. A massive prostitution syndicate on one side and a heavy-hitting drug cartel on the other. They were constantly warring, and he knew better than to get involved. So he quietly slipped out of the library with his knight. The one-eyed knight followed, as Alon resolved to play the useless son. But as they left, the knight couldn't help but notice something strange. He wondered how their young master had discovered a hidden slave market, especially one running illegal biological experiments in a completely different region. It seemed like he had been planning this entire operation for years. The young master was highly unusual, especially sending the rescued child away. Our main character knew the knight was absolutely right. That kid was highly dangerous. He possessed destructive potential on a truly world-ending, catastrophic scale. The boy rescued from the Kalyan kingdom was actually a future boss. He would become Deus Michaelian, a terrifying chief in Psychedelia. After suffering endless abuse, he would eventually rise as the Sin of Sloth. He was destined to wipe out entire nations in the most gruesome way. That cruel twist in the game story caught many players off guard. Despite representing Sloth, he worked incredibly hard to exact his bloody, brutal revenge. He made sure his abusers paid dearly, so treating him kindly was vital. If you showed him kindness now, he would surely return the favor later. But the exact reason Alon sent him to the orphanage remained a secret. He sent a letter to Yusha explaining the situation with the second kid. In his letter, he gently asked her to nurse the sick child back to health. When Yusha met the boy, she saw he was completely broken. His small body bore all the tragic marks of extreme abuse. Even so, the Great Moon chose him, and she welcomed him warmly. He had to embrace his dark power and let his latent potential explode. If he stayed loyal and obeyed, his ultimate revenge would be guaranteed. With her reply sent, Alon immediately started searching for the third child. But suddenly, his knight rushed in with some incredibly grim news. The second young master had died, a sudden tragedy Alon never expected. It happened far too early, forcing them to attend a bleak funeral. He knew his family was messed up, but this was exceptionally dark. Besides, Tonio dying from a simple fall was totally different from the game. In the original plot, his own brother killed him to secure the inheritance. Now that scheming brother had a smug, victorious look plastered across his face. Eventually, either Leo or his loyal followers would take that brother out. But for now, there were far more pressing issues to resolve first. A year went by, the succession ended, and Leo took full control. The county grew quiet, while Alon and Yusha bonded through regular letters. Reading her updates, he genuinely felt they were just normal, sweet kids. They talked of everyday things, but the list of orphanage supporters grew. Wealthy donors kept sending heavy contributions to their little facility. Soon, the knight brought news of a breakthrough from the Information Guild. They finally uncovered vital clues regarding their ancestors and the third boss. Everything seemed completely perfect until sudden trouble erupted in Marigogo. A hidden drug den, the eldest heir of the Palatio family seemed generous, especially since his syndicate boasted hundreds of members. That was until they started getting targeted and wiped out by just 2 intruders. A horrifying spell forced these thugs to end their own lives with their very own hands. Puppet magic was controlling them from the shadows. Another white-haired girl calmly assisted in delivering these brutal deaths. The boy remarked that he had no real reason to do this. She asked if he felt any pity, but he replied that they slaughtered people to manufacture drugs. This had nothing to do with his revenge. She noted that this slaughter was just the foundation to create a space for him. She suggested leaving a chaotic mess for when their master arrived. These two acted entirely under a much greater will. The indigo moon would serve as his ultimate sword. Whispering those solemn words, he left a glowing moon mark on the ground after the job. Meanwhile, Alan had been exchanging secret letters with Yusha for 2 years. His loyal knight, Evan, arrived looking completely exhausted. Evan reported that the 5th child had finally been safely sent to the orphanage. Alan had managed to rescue the other future sins over these past 2 long years. Tracking down the 3rd sin, greed, was a nightmare, but using Evan's gaming knowledge made it possible. Alan told him to rest, while the knight asked if his young master was truly happy now. Alan claimed he was, trying to force a smile, but he just could not. He never expected things to go this smoothly. In the game Psychedelia, the 5 sins were forged through sheer, brutal trauma. Even though he had altered their terrible histories before they became villains, the odds of saving them before they suffered remained incredibly low. He had been deeply worried about trying to rescue them after they were already traumatized. Fortunately, everything at the orphanage was actually going exceptionally well. They used to look like empty, broken dolls, but now they were lively and bright. Lon realized he did not even need to hire individual caretakers for each of them anymore. Honestly, he never expected Yusha to do such a wonderful job, especially considering her emotional role as the sensitive caretaker at the orphanage. Yusha was surprisingly good at this. Her frequent letters reassured him that everything was perfect and he had nothing to worry about, including the other kids. Alan truly believed they were growing up beautifully in such a warm environment. Evan suggested he should finally meet the kids in person. However, Alan had absolutely no actual intention of ever visiting them, as he claimed. Sure, building a bond sounded nice, but those kids possessed personalities he would rather avoid entirely. Maybe it was a blessing they were spared from the brutal origins that created them. Still, a lingering fear remained in his mind. What would they become 5 years from now? He desperately needed powerful skills to survive this cursed, terrifying fantasy world of theirs. While he lacked any natural talent for magic, his physical body was absolutely perfect for mastering it. Our young master trained his magic daily to protect himself from future threats. While Evan suddenly brought up rumors regarding a rising faction called the Blue Moon. Lon had never heard of them, so Evan explained they were a notorious vigilante organization. Famous for hunting down criminals, Alan thought it was wonderful someone was cleaning up the trash of the world, but then Evan added a chilling detail. Apparently they did not stop at corrupt nobles. Hearing this, our young master felt a sudden jolt of terror. He quickly ordered Evan to sleep right outside his bedroom door. Meanwhile, a red-eyed girl demanded to hear their weekly report. A blonde girl stepped forward, reporting that in the north, she had personally decapitated savage slave traders. This was Sialring, the fearsome sin of pride. The sin of greed, Rhine reported the bodies were completely charred. Another sin added. The southern mission is finally over, dismantling those horrific human testing labs and completely crushing the troublesome Diavalon forces into a bloody pulp. She calls this the sin of obsession. Radon, the red-eyed girl, claims everything is moving according to grander will. They believe their entire existence serves the glorious blue moon. This is the shadow organization operating in the dark for that very moon, but now they face an unexpected threat to their plans. Just when everything seemed perfect, the cultist obsession delivers a grim warning. The head of Avalon is the Count's eldest son, who found a dangerous document. During his time in the south, it reveals he might be targeting their leader. Secret letters declare that once the old Count dies, they must eliminate him with poison. The red-eyed girl nods in understanding. 2 years quietly slip by. And his father, Count Palatio, finally dies. Officially, they claim it was heart failure. But a secret overdose was the real culprit. Soon, whispers of another attack spread. Scheduled for the final night of the blue moon, the hero notices growing suspicion. With the count dead and the silence broken, the danger is closer than you think. His allies ask the young master what his next move will be. He predicts his older brother will take action, while eyeing his packed luggage. Taking his belongings, he orders his loyal squire to prepare to flee with him. Their destination is Rodman, a quiet, isolated town resting far south of Palatio. As they set off, his brother watches them closely. 3 days later, he is forced to return for his own brother's sudden funeral. He wonders how the boy could die so differently from their father, only to discover a clean blade had pierced his brother's heart. His sharp questions about the murder send a wave of panic through the guards. Evan warns him of the shadow that made Avalon vanish overnight. Worse, he notices the mansion servants are behaving very strangely. Soon, Alan is riding inside a carriage headed toward Rodmal. He asks the young master if a larger city might be safer, but gets rejected. Rodmal is where he must stay, shielding the world from a catastrophic disgrace. Saving this world from total ruin is his ultimate goal. Ironically, Rodmal has absolutely nothing to do with the main storyline. It is the perfect hideout for a disgraced noble seeking absolute peace. He claims everything has a purpose, though Evan knows he is just bored. As their carriage rolls by, a cold pair of eyes watches from a high balcony. This shadowy figure debates whether to kill him right now. He initially planned to use poison once the old count passed away. Since the target is leaving quietly, there seems to be no reason to strike. He assumes the boy fled here because his plans with Avalon collapsed. Still, the protagonist's sheer presence deeply irritates him. He orders his trusted assassin, Alman, to tail the target's carriage. Alman obeys Leo, but dares to question if they should finish the boy. Shocked by this rare defiance, Leo commands him to just do his job. Before Leo can react, Alman suddenly draws his blade and slashes his chest. Laughing at their little war game, the traitor reveals his true identity. He is Redan, a deadly member of the Blue Moon who just slaughtered young Master Leo. They believe they were raised under the Red Moon, but as a Blue Moon. He is just a man's blade, bound to move only when his own desires spark. Redan warned that anyone trying to strike the Great Moon has to be put down. He acts entirely on his own accord, and he has been waiting a long time to say this. Furious over the betrayal of his own men, Leo swore that Avalon would be wiped out. He tells the raging Leo that the Great Moon actually spared his life, giving him one last chance. Meanwhile, Alan wakes up in Rodmal, finding this quiet town to be an absolute blessing. The days are peaceful, letting him sleep in and eat whatever he wants, whenever he wants. He finally gets to live like a proper noble in this cozy little town, until now. Evan drops by with a newly arrived letter. It brings terrible news of Palatio. The man is dead and the family wants Alan back home immediately. His vacation is over. Returning to Palatio Manor for his brother's funeral, he notices the staff acting incredibly tense. Then Evan pulls him aside, asking exactly when Alan became the leader of the Shadows. All those wild simulation scenarios ended up pushing him directly into this position. Alan asks Evan why he chose to play the villain. Evan replies that it simply benefits him. He had a flawless alibi, making him the sole winner of this chaotic mess. Lau was taken outright after they departed the Grand Estate, and Avalon is gone. With his brother dead, nothing stands in his way. He is now the supreme authority. As the county's secret shadow boss, he was the one who ordered his brother's execution. Alan realizes that normal syndicates cannot just assassinate an underworld boss in a flash. But then he remembers there are specific groups designed to hunt down rogue nobles. Evan mentions that the Blue Moon is actually not a suspect. Instead of piling up bodies, the Blue Moon only leaves a signature mark behind. Yet the slaughtered Avalon members were clearly taken down by a master's blade. Alan recalls that the Blue Moon never actually showed up in the original game. They are far too powerful to be sloppy like this, leaving him to wonder who is truly responsible. Elsewhere, a young girl with white hair and crimson eyes asks if they covered their tracks. The other Sins assure her that not a single trace remains of their presence. The boy reports that 486 Avalon soldiers were completely wiped out. The Sin of Obsession arrives next, declaring his mission was accomplished without a hitch. And just like that, the powerful Avalon Syndicate is shattered. They turned the massive organization to dust in a mere 5 days. But the cleanup was not flawless. They found secret files linking several noble houses to them. Specifically, the Alia Duchy has some incredibly dark ties to the Syndicate. The Sin of Wrath demands they deal with this quietly, and the others instantly submit. The leader asks if this intel is solid and receives a confident nod. This operation is completely separate from the Blue Moon, even if other guilds copy their style. Rumors call this lethal blade the Sword of Hell, forged by a Grand Master. She warns that word of this must never reach their master's ears. Another Sin shrugs it off, saying any threats are easily dealt with. She coldly reminds him that they are merely weapons, and weapons do not think. The Blue Moon moves only on direct commands, for he sees and knows everything. As their leader, she demands they never fail him, leaving the others deeply unsettled. They wonder why someone as powerful as Yushas feels such immense dread. They live in fear of exposure, driven solely by their absolute vow, all for the Great Moon. Would follow at all costs. Meanwhile, Alan could no longer stand, dealing with all the overdue paperwork after the funeral, even though he had made enemies. Lau's death was supposed to be 6 years from now. The death pattern had changed from the game, and all the administrative duties fell to him, the heir. He remembered how he used to procrastinate constantly back when the Count was still alive. Servants worked themselves to the bone out of fear that he would eliminate them. Everyone put in extra effort due to rumors that he was the mastermind behind everything. In reality, he was just like a regular employee who wanted to do his work in peace. He really wished they could handle tasks without him constantly having to step in. Evan approaches the young master and expresses complete surprise that he is hosting a grand ball. This event is for the aristocracy from the southern territory of the kingdom, a gathering meant for nobles. Alan was soon to become a count, so he needed this opportunity to make connections. Building allies among the nobility was absolutely vital for a quiet life. However, the entire party falls completely silent the moment he appears. They clearly despised him, viewing his entire family as low-class trash and fedora. Unlike his esteemed great-grandfather, they believed the current Palatio family was nothing but scoundrels. Still, he arrived prepared to display his secretly practiced social skills. But when he attempts to casually talk about the fine wine's rich aroma, hoping to seem sophisticated, he looks like an absolute maniac. Talk about a total backfire. They mistake this for a terrifying, villainous aura. One noblewoman feels so pressured she hands over her glass and flees. He never expected such an incredibly intense, fearful reaction, thinking people would just be a little reserved, not downright terrified. On the bright side, luxury horses, rare teas, metals, and fine wines keep coming his way simply because people are absolutely petrified of him. The Palatio family name had gained far too much notoriety, and with all these dark rumors spreading, everyone actively avoids him. His social networking plans completely failed, but then striking red-haired woman shows a sudden, deep interest in him. She approaches, politely asking if he might spare a moment for a brief chat. When he turns, he immediately recognizes Loria, the daughter of Duke Alia. Hearing that notorious name, the powerful northern house that operates from the shadows, he remembers their reputation. They are infamous as complete lunatics, without a single normal person among them. Yet, searching his memories of the original game, he cannot recall her ever appearing in the plot. She gets straight to the point, asking him to lend her his power because she is going to be murdered soon. She explains that she was safe while her father, the Duke, was still healthy. Now, with his condition worsening, her ruthless older sisters are actively trying to kill her. Alan knows she should have already been dead by this point in the game. Yet she believes that with Lord Alan's incredible influence, she might survive. Unfortunately, he has to refuse her plea. She quickly counters, promising that if he saves her life, she will grant him half of her massive inheritance. Still, he walks away knowing he can barely keep himself alive, let alone protect someone else. He is nothing like the terrifying monster the rumors describe, returning to his quiet castle. He silently wishes her luck, hoping she finds a much stronger protector. Suddenly, a shadowy figure notes that the Alia girl has approached the Great Moon, wondering if they should. They want to show her the Red Moon's gentle desire, but the girl of Sin refuses, and she remains the only Altia completely disconnected from Avalon. This makes her the sole exception, who is completely excluded from Hadon's grand mission. Honestly, this simplifies things, and the other Altias will be wiped out. They move ahead with the Red Moon's cold decree, ensuring all news is tightly blocked from her. Meanwhile, back with our main guy suddenly. A stunning, red-haired woman in an elegant dress glides right up to speak with him. He finds it incredibly bizarre that anyone is trying to socialize with him, leaving him completely stunned. Looking closely, he recognizes her as a major player from the dark underbelly. But someone he never actually encountered in the game. Why would she approach him unless? She was in deep, serious trouble. He carefully greets her, knowing the infamous Zenonia name. See, in the kingdom of Asteria, 3 massive houses rule the criminal underworld. There is Aelia in the north, Palatio in the east, and Zenonia, the western street thugs. Count Zenonia's eldest daughter is Kalia, and she is thrilled that our hero recognizes her. While the other 2 houses are simple gangs, Zenonia is a full-blown crime syndicate. He definitely needs powerful connections to keep his life peaceful, but getting tangled with her is the absolute last thing he wants. Still, he keeps his composure and politely compliments her beauty, which only makes her want to drag this conversation out further. Recognizing the danger, he points out that too many eyes are watching them right now, making any private talk impossible. Amusement flashes in her eyes, saying he is just like the rumors, and she cannot wait for their next encounter. Meanwhile, the Sins realize that despite their tight information block, an unexpected threat is lurking nearby. Someone is hiding high up in the trees, closely watching the great moon with calculating eyes. Sensing they are being followed, they resolve to eliminate this spy. Meanwhile, Alan and Evan trek deep into a dark gorge in search of a hidden treasure, despite it being midday. The ravine is pitch black, and Alan mutters that he will be devastated if they find nothing. After all, the game made it look so simple to find a hidden labyrinth right here. Welcome to the Labyrinth of Whispers, where solving puzzles across 8 rooms yields a legendary artifact. When Alan finally spots the ancient stone entrance, he realizes he knows every single path by heart, though seeing it live hits differently than the online guides. Inside the gorge, the stone looks strangely artificial. Deliberately crafted by someone, he casually mentions having visited this place countless times, explaining his detailed knowledge. Realizing he just blabbed complete nonsense, he quickly backtracks, mumbling that he learned about it from external sources. Suddenly, the giant doors grind open, and hideous monsters swarm out. Evan panics, terrified they will fail the riddles and get absolutely crushed to death. He watches in awe as his young master remains incredibly composed while solving them. They have been working together for 4 whole years, yet he still cannot fathom his master's actions, from saving orphans to all these bizarre mysteries. The guy barely left his mansion, yet he knows every corner of this deadly place. With practiced ease, Alan unlocks the ancient puzzle locks, and Evan's suspicion only deepens. After all, every single move his master makes turns out to be flawlessly calculated. As the final door opens, Alan quickly averts his eyes, fighting back a wave of intense nausea. Relief washes over him when they finally reach the treasure vault. Eager to grab his prize and escape, Alan secures the ring, warning that touching any other item here will trigger deadly traps. Having secured the legendary oath of restriction, they quickly head for the exit, guided perfectly by his game knowledge. In the game, this part was pretty easy, but those giant boulders lining the gorge, they are actually golems, a completely unknown threat that puts the young master in serious danger. Proto steps forward. He tells his loyal knight that he can easily handle this massive threat on his own. Finding an escape route is way more important right now than picking a fight. So he activates the powerful Oath of Restriction he just got from that strange talisman. A standard second-tier spell normally wouldn't even scratch these beasts, but he has a plan. The ancient fragment prepares to grant his request by demanding 2 heavy restrictions. Just like the original turn-based game, a massive choice prompt suddenly floats right before him. A mysterious voice echoes from the oath. He immediately selects the very first option. The voice asks for his terms. He declares he will use the ancient hand signs of Babylon. When asked what he wants in return, Proto demands the power to bend reality itself. He wants to distort the laws of this world just a little bit more. Granted. Now he makes his second wish. He must speak the forgotten language of Babylon whenever he casts his magic. To fully defy natural laws, he executes the second hand sign, wondering if he succeeded. By locking himself into these strict hand signs and ancient languages, he gains insane power. It is the easiest way to secure maximum magical damage. Since he replayed the game so many times, he perfectly memorized every combination. He is absolutely sure it will succeed, and the eerie voice validates his insane choice. The magical ring melts into his skin, sealing the binding restriction. Back in real time, Evan urgently tells him to cast a second-tier spell. That is when Proto conjures a glowing sphere of raw lightning energy. It feels incredibly weak despite draining his entire mana pool. This is his body's limit. Knowing his physical limit, he decides to test this restricted strength. He violently hurls the newly supercharged lightning sphere directly at the massive golems ahead. Just watch, this is where the restricted magic completely breaks the system. Proto activates the refraction and repulsion sequence technique. Indigo light floods the area, bending reality and spawning lightning. Tracing the diffraction line, he begins making rapid hand gestures. A devastating torrent of pure lightning violently explodes from his outstretched fingertips, striking the beasts. Monsters are instantly vaporized, their stony bodies shattering into tiny pieces. Evan stands frozen, asking if the young master was hiding this monstrous power. He admits he has never seen anything so terrifying in 15 years of mercenary work. Proto calmly replies that he is still just a basic second circle mage. Honestly, even he is baffled. He was never this overpowered in the original game. In the old turn-based combat system, casting magic always required specific incantations and signs. This time, he chained the magic using 4 rapid incantations. It typically would have taken him 5 full turns to execute this powerful thunder spell. But those severe restrictions forced him to use manual hand signs for everything. That is why his basic second circle magic easily secured a devastating and sudden one-hit kill. Even Proto is shocked, while Evan complains that this labyrinth is exhausting. Exploring this godforsaken place is honestly far more tiring than actual combat. He only just realized that this Whisper Labyrinth went by a completely different name in the game. Fortunately, he remembers the complete walkthrough posted on the player forums. Over time, the place became known as Palon's Labyrinth, built by a man named Palon. This is the exact history the hero shares with young Evan. Matching hand signs to the spell's core attribute boosts its overall power. Choosing the correct enchantment further enhances its special properties. It works just like the game mechanics, but unlike the actual game, where only the numbers go up, he realizes things are different here. Every enchantment actually transforms the physical shape of his magic. He plans to closely observe these shifts by carefully testing his mana control. He will experiment once his energy recovers, relieved that his plan succeeded. Up in the trees, the little girl Sin watches him, whispering to herself about the forgotten outer gods mentioned in the scriptures of the Alenf. Empire, looking at an old stone, she reads of a lonely friend abandoned by the coward Palo, the hero who halted the monster invasion, and defeated Alakalaka, the beast that devoured innocent hearts. This was the brilliant Emperor Palo. She holds all this hidden knowledge because she was born with the ancestral library, summoned for a greater destiny. She already knew the hero was special, since the Blood Queen followed him, and he clearly knew of Palo, but she never expected the great Moon to be a friend of Emperor Palo. Strangely, the phrase he whispered does not even exist in her ancestral library. Who is he? She wonders, realizing the Red Moon was right. She feels deeply ashamed. Suddenly, she senses another Sin nearby and asks if he came to gather intel. He shakes his head, revealing the Dark One has been eliminated. They must report the exact cause of death, a snapped neck. Meanwhile, in Zenonia County, a red-haired woman confirms the rumors are true. He is cold and calculating, with eyes like a dark, endless abyss. Their territory is powerful and renowned, exactly as the hero had suspected. They remain incredibly famous, despite never taking part in noble gatherings. She asks if her father, the Count, finds this fascinating, then snaps her fingers, instantly activating a heavy mind control spell on him. She turned her father into a mindless puppet to rule the house, and nobody knows. Now everyone is watching the protagonist after her secrets leak. Suddenly, a servant calls her to witness a bizarre scene inside her room. When she arrives, someone lies dead. Since the protective seal was never triggered, no secrets were leaked. The killer brought the body here on purpose, knowing the truth. She realizes the culprit instantly saw through her absolute greatest weakness. The moment they met, meanwhile, at Count Alia's estate, a girl warns that the protagonist is no ordinary man. He is the kind of person you never want to cross, a powerful underworld boss who shares her father's cold gaze. He was her final hope, but he would never strike a losing deal. She simply has nothing left to offer, stripped bare by her own siblings. The eldest son Tamelon, the eldest daughter Marion, and the second daughter Perini, alongside the second son Keg, left her with absolutely nothing. She survived solely on her father's pity, and now she is completely lost. She is suddenly informed that the young lady has returned, Perini and her. He ended her own life. Even the ones who destroyed her family killed themselves. It makes absolutely no sense to her. She asks how Tamalian and Marianne are doing. The news that both have died leaves her completely shocked. Understanding absolutely nothing, one of the sins successfully eliminated the targets and escaped unseen. Just then, Alon notes that good things can finally happen, because the person truly running the mansion is the one who hid there. Claus waiting for the perfect moment. Now she finally understands what Alon meant when they first met. Just like that, she became the sole successor of her entire family after all her siblings died. She wonders if she made some kind of pact with an evil entity to cause this. She wonders what happens to those who betrayed him. With so many possibilities, she decides she will walk her chosen path to avoid misfortune. 2 months later, Alon receives an official order from the Duke of Altia, along with a bottle of Cernunant's wine as a gift. Alon quickly realizes that young Loria was the one who sent it, not the Duke, which deeply confuses him. The servant, who arrived on her orders, explains that the Duke provided and sent it to be delivered. This means the youngest has actually become the Duchess, leaving Alon completely shocked. Meanwhile, Loria is writing several letters and notes that those 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. After her father's funeral, who succumbed to illness, she became the Duchess after the official ceremony. She couldn't even enter this office before, but now she commands everything. Her siblings' deaths were so sudden that nobody even suspected her of the crimes. She had a perfect alibi, and her secret organization was completely wiped out by those siblings. When she first returned to the mansion, she possessed no power and realized Alon's faction was surprising, expertly exploiting the chaos to gain a massive advantage. He acted completely indifferent while quietly carrying out a brutal cleanup behind the scenes. She wonders how far Alon actually foresaw the future. She didn't even mention her father's funeral, wanting to avoid annoying him. She believes he must have helped because he needs Altia for his secret master plan. Even though she took over all of Altia's subordinate organizations, it's still not enough to match his immense power, making her suspect his faction needs something from her and her territory. He is a legendary underworld figure who rose purely through his business. If he lacks anything, it's the power to manipulate the entire political landscape from the shadows, making her think he needs the Altia name on his game board. So she will focus on her own duties, knowing this underworld tycoon will soon reach out to her. That's why she tried to please him with that expensive wine. Alon notes to himself how she escaped certain death to become the Duchess. A few months later, 5 years since his journey began, Evan asks if he should address Alon as the Count. Alon replies the official ceremony hasn't happened, but the title fits since a year has already passed. Alon didn't even want to become a count, but he will make the absolute most of this situation now. He receives a letter from Yusha, asking if Evan has any new information about who eliminated Leo. A guild is currently investigating, but Evan has no real answers yet. He then asks what Alon's ultimate objective is, assuming it's not. He prepares for the unexpected. Things are going completely differently from the game. Evan remarks that he sounded just like a count. Then, he reads a cute letter from a young girl. It details hobbies, including professional-level ventriloquism. The letter says that Sayu loves playing with friends. It also mentions that Ryan loves to read while busy with other tasks, and Radon has a hobby involving gardening. This sweet monthly routine of exchanging updates has become a pattern that truly warms our protagonist's heart. Pausing to think about the 5 sins, he asks their age. Evan replies they should be ready to enter society by now. The 5 great sins sign the letter, thanking our hero for his constant care. He realizes there is no longer any reason to keep them confined now that they are grown. They can decide their own future. He raised them with enough love so they would never become the 5 sins, keeping them healthy and well. Each boss fight scenario was slowly laid out in the narration. Yusha possessed the talent of belief. Dios held the sword while Ryan excelled at studying. Salyun was a natural fighter, and Radon was the holy apostle. If they use these gifts correctly, they will live much better lives. In the meantime, he decides to prepare a special gift for them. He finishes it, playfully hoping to get something back when they grow older. Now he waits for them to read his letters and venture out. Yusha tells the Sins that letters containing new orders have finally arrived. They all read with absolute, pure excitement. New orders are sent to everyone. The future villains are surprised and some are even thrilled. Altia warns them to actually read the letters before getting too ahead of themselves. They have permission to open these orders, even though they come from above. Since the moon sent letters to everyone, this is a mandatory summons. Strangely, it is just a normal, casual conversation, no actual orders anywhere. Puzzled, the cat-eared girl decides to read her letter aloud. Soon, all the villains are reading along. She is ordered to Colony, while Dios goes to Caliburn, the nation of knights. Radon is sent to Rixus, the city of entertainment, and Ryan must go to Elthania, the city of labyrinths. Altia is assigned to Rosario, the grand city of the Holy Kingdom. Everyone received instructions, and Dios is told to become a knight, using their master's prestigious sponsorship. He even left the exact locations of gifts for his followers. Altia strictly reminds everyone never to utter the name Blue Moon aloud until their master officially says otherwise. With that, each of the future villains sets off toward their designated locations. Altia secretly notices how he always disguised orders within normal conversations, revealing the actual directive right after the thank you note, stating their mission and demanding they report back immediately upon completion. It was through this very letter that he officially entrusted the Blue Moon to Altia, proving they were hand-picked. All of this was done to stop leaks, forcing everyone to decipher the hidden messages to carry them out. Dios suggests it would be far better if they used a magic communicator and left another with the Blue Moon. Altia strictly commands them never to forget a single instruction he gives. Dios feels her gaze. He promises unwavering trust, swearing he will never forget. 3 months fly by and the protagonist sifts through ancient books, searching for clues on magic and special phrases. He asks how the investigation into Leo's death is going. The Information Guild still has nothing, thanks to the awakening of the 5 great sins. A massive butterfly effect changed everything. Even Loria, who was supposed to die, became the Duchess of Aelia, expanding her underground power and influence. Realizing the danger, he orders Evan to halt the search into Leo's passing immediately. On this occasion, ignorance is a blessing. Back in the game, almost nothing escaped the vast net of the Information Guild, but now he chooses to stop searching to avoid deeper trouble. Honestly, keeping his head down might just save his life. Secret organizations will not bother him as long as he stays away. There is absolutely no reason for them to strike, so he tells Evan that chasing these ghosts is just a waste of time. Then his assistant drops a bomb. Dios just became a Caliburn knight, but our protagonist does not care at all. Over 3 months pass when Evan delivers more news. Dios has founded his own knight order. Our hero finds this bizarre. Dios was only supposed to be expert level, nowhere near a true master knight, yet he will be the 15th youngest master knight in under 10 years. Joining the Swords of Caliburn means the whole capital is probably celebrating right now. Another 6 months slip by, marking a full year since the Sins left the orphanage and he became a count. Now, shocking news arrives. Dios officially joined Caliburn, becoming the 15th Master Knight in history. Our protagonist knows that normally, only true swordmasters reach that rank. In Psychedelia, a swordmaster is a superhuman who steps beyond the aura blade, unlocking a unique derivation skill. Evan mentions that Dios has not formed his derivation yet, but he is incredibly close to that level. Still, the kingdom granted him the title. He even won a duel against the 4th Sword of the Realm, right after Caliburn lost a knight to northern barbarians. Gathering enough mana usually takes 15 years, and mastering derivation takes decades. Reinhardt, Caliburn's legendary first sword, was 32 when he set the record. During one game mission, Reinhardt actually joined the protagonist's party. He was insanely strong, yet it still took 20 years to join the order. Yet now a kid with zero background in swords is a master knight. He completely bypassed Reinhardt's record, only waiting for his special skill to awaken. Honestly, the protagonist might never get to use him. All he receives are letters from Yusha. Since she left for the Holy Kingdom, she writes constantly, sharing updates on the Sins. He actually feels a bit guilty for not properly thanking them for their gift or even meeting up with them in person. Still, he is relieved that the 5 sins did not immediately destroy the kingdom upon awakening. As a proud parent, he is just happy they are thriving. Meanwhile, over in Cam, the capital of Caliburn, stands a massive noble mansion. This grand estate is home to the legendary Knights of the Solar Eclipse. High above, Dios Malian silently watches over the entire city. During the solar eclipse, Dios Malian watches everything unfold from high above. He is the youngest Master Knight and the commander of the Knights of the Solar Eclipse. But when his sister steps forward to greet him, pure joy washes over him. She is alive. Thinking of his past embarrasses him, even though a whole year has already flown by. That was the dark time when the Black Plagues took everything he loved. Only uncontrollable rage remained, and the great moon saving him changed absolutely nothing. Simply surviving was not enough for him to blindly swear his loyalty to the man. But with a promise of absolute revenge against the demons, he willingly obeyed every command. Training under the blue moon was incredibly brutal, pushing him into constant, deadly peril. He threw away all concern for his own survival, executing high-stakes missions for years. Every single task was crucial to his ultimate war against the Black Plagues. But wait, a direct order arrives, promising a mysterious gift at a local hotel. He wanted no part of any rewards until he pushed the door open. Inside was the family he believed he had lost forever, sent by the great moon. This reunion was infinitely more precious than his own life. His sister was alive. Looking at Sylvia, tears spill over as pure, overwhelming happiness takes hold of him. After their home fell, they were torn apart, leaving her trapped in pitch darkness. For a painfully long time she waited, but when her moment came, she escaped toward the light. Surviving against the odds, she was nearly sold off to a brutal slave merchant years later. Luckily, a mercenary named Evan rescued her and ensured she received proper medical care. Her mysterious benefactor kept sending rare medicine to keep her safe and healthy. The man signing those letters was none other than Alan Palatio, leaving Sylvia deeply grateful. The knight is deeply moved that Alan Palatio protected his sister under the Palatio name. He had never spoken a word about his family, keeping his past completely secret. Only Yusha knew the Black Lamb captured him, proving their all-knowing savior sees everything. Every lingering doubt in the knight's mind suddenly clicks together like a perfect puzzle. He finally understands Yusha's anxiety. It turns out he was the only blind fool. As everything falls into place, he recalls the heavy words of warning. Alan Palatio knew everything, even warning that child about the future. Though his blade originally moved to strike, he chose a path of mercy instead. His mind had been completely consumed with dark, venomous hate for the Black Lamb. Yet he received the most priceless gift imaginable, his beloved sister, alive. Now he finally understands why Yusha followed that man with such devotion. She was never a blind fanatic. Her absolute trust was entirely earned. Deeply moved, the Master Knight swears to repay this massive debt of gratitude. His sole mission now is to reach the absolute peak of swordsmanship. He will forge a legendary order, uniting the greatest swordsmen under his banner. Years pass and the day finally comes to deploy his elite forces. This crucial expedition will serve as the sharp spearhead for the solar eclipse. No matter the hardships, he fights onward to properly repay his savior. He orders his warriors to prove their worth under the watchful moon. Marching forward, the newly formed order sets off to crush the northern barbarians. Watching his adopted children spread their wings and thrive fills Alan Palatio with pride. Upon returning from the deadly labyrinth, Alan Palatio continues researching a mysterious phrase. The final report is ready, revealing the hidden details of spell refraction. This brand new phenomenon shores up imperfect magic, boosting its raw contact area. The refraction changes its form, completely altering how the projectile moves. Indigo light charges the spell with electricity, a sharp diffraction line. Ensures absolute penetration, dealing a massive critical hit with limited mana. He could cast just one spell daily, slowing his research down significantly. But in this predetermined world, all traces of ancient signs in the Babylon language were lost, leaving him completely in the dark. He had to build this entire magic system from scratch. Mastering shield spells while digging for answers, finally, it was showtime. 2 months of grueling research were about to be put to the test. He destabilizes the local mana field, ready to spark some basic lightning. He compresses the energy, chanting the ancient phrases of summoning. With a final command to collapse, the spell takes physical shape. The resulting lightning burst is absolutely massive, crackling with pure power. He realizes the incantation sequence is key, trigger collapse first, and boom. The spell gets infinitely stronger, watching this legendary originating magic unfold. The red-haired woman stands frozen. Alan calmly asks why Kalia is here. Casting primordial magic means he must be a 7th circle master. Yet Alan has no clue if he is 7th or 8th circle. He was just testing things out. Meanwhile, inside Count Palatio's reception room, Kalia is visiting for 2 specific reasons. First, to test the Count, wanting to see if he plans to bring down Zenonia. Second, she needs to gauge the strength of his protectors, the mysterious force backing his control over the Palatio mansion. Honestly, she was about to discover a completely different level of monster. Even Vian, a 5th circle mage exiled for cruel experiments, never felt this. Terrifying, this guy could wipe out entire armies without breaking a sweat, carrying himself with absolute, untouchable arrogance. But now, Kalia is genuinely trembling. Could Alan Palatio really have cast that legendary primordial spell? Alan steps into the room, asking what brings her to his territory. She quickly recovers, claiming she has waited a long time to meet. Alan immediately cuts her off, flatly denying he used an originating spell. He plays it cool, claiming he is barely 2nd circle. Surely the mage standing right beside her noticed the complete lack of aftereffects. Her companion nods quickly, terrified and eager to agree. He stammers that he must have misread the mana completely. Alan sighs in relief, glad to have avoided a massive headache. Kalia decides it is best to wrap up her business here. Alan subtly shows her the door, claiming he is very busy. She takes the hint, gets up, and thanks him for his time. Before she goes, he suggests she pay a visit to Duchess Alia. He mentions they might get along well, and she politely bids farewell. Once she leaves, Evan asks why a disgraced noble family is here. Alan plays dumb, but inside he knows trouble is brewing. If rumors spread about him casting primordial spells, every powerhouse in the land will want a piece of him. He warns her that visiting Altia is impossible while they fight for the underworld. He strictly tells them not to show up. Meanwhile, Valkyrian wonders. Could it be primordial magic, especially since she keeps denying it? This ancient magic uses its own laws, but absolute principles still apply. Even so, only the absolute strongest mages at the peak can do it. Using his special eye, he carefully analyzed the spellcraft of Alan Palatio. Man was literally shattering absolute principles, defying all logic. He grabbed the thunder, reshaped it, and collapsed the very laws of reality. Somehow the magic materialized, an impossible miracle, and things got worse. By utilizing the legendary essence of the Golden Mane tribe, the Lord revealed the secret location of all his hidden treasures. He originally saved those riches as an emergency fund in this ruthless country. Here, power is everything, and the strongest rule the entire world. Over in the scorching desert nation of Colony, another sin lies in wait. It was clear our main character was behaving like a great outer god. The mage paused to think. Alan was becoming far too dangerous. Having studied ancient forbidden knowledge, he recognized magic from the lost era. Because of this, he warned Zenonia never to cross Count Palatio. He is just too strong, making it wiser to leave his true goals alone. Especially since Duchess Alia might just be a pawn on Alan's massive chessboard. 5 months fly by, marking 2 years since the kids left the orphanage. He asks for updates, but Evan drops a massive bombshell about Zenonia County. They have allied with the Altia Duchy, uniting the underworld's fiercest rivals. This completely blindsides him. Talk about an unexpected twist in his plans. Now he has to face a massive double alliance, threatening the entire kingdom. The kingdom of Asteria is about to burn, all because of his advice. He never expected her to take their conversation so seriously. He assumed any partnership would be temporary, but now he must prepare. With a brutal war looming, he decides to write a formal letter. He desperately hopes the young girl never uncovers his web of lies. Trusting Evo with the task, he sends it through a mercenary guild. Our main character still wonders where Rodden and his gang ended up. Utra gave no details, leaving him hoping they were not wiped out. If she actually uncovers the hidden gift, she will reach the absolute top. She will rule the fighters of Baba Yaga. Finally, the trial ends. The cat-eared girl offers her deepest thanks for the legendary gauntlet. She always believed the myth of the Golden Mane tribe was fake. But now she holds the bloodline of the ancient, legendary Wolf Kings. These beasts ruled over everyone. This incredible power is now hers. For generations, her family guarded this treasure, keeping its secrets safe. It grants peerless strength and authority to anyone who wields it. Having survived every brutal trial, she finally uncovers the shocking truth. The Great Moon was her savior, rescuing her from a dark laboratory. This power will let her avenge her parents, who were killed by the Black Dragon. Now she is determined to repay our hero for everything. He has no intention of letting her become just another average gladiator. From now on, she will rise as the strongest warrior and restore the Golden Mane tribe. On top of that, she will slay the Black Dragon, all for the Great Moon. She makes her choice to begin. The great beast king of the Golden Mane tribe will finally emerge after hundreds of years. Word is that the Information Guild has already tracked down news regarding the children. Lord R has been doing incredibly well in the colony, earning himself the title of Golden Lightning. Our protagonist is glad to hear his friend is safe. Thanks to the report from Eva, he asks about Radon next, having received no updates since the boy was still learning how to handle dimensional rifts. Both our hero and Eva are still trying to sort out what rumors about Radon are actually true. He tells Eva that Radon must be busy digging up the truth himself. Regardless, they must move. He must get ready since traveling to the Magic Tower takes a full month. By now, Eva is quite used to these sudden journeys. The looming deadline is tight, but a single month feels a bit strange. After all, a normal trip to the Green Magic Tower should only take about 1 week. That is when our hero reveals their true destination is the Blue Magic Tower, which lies much further away from Labyrinth City. Eva starts packing her things and leaves the room. Our protagonist is exhausted just thinking about spending a whole month inside a carriage. The item that can boost his tiny, precious mana pool is hidden right here in this city. Labyrinth City brings back quite a few memories. Back in his gaming days, he spent countless hours grinding for loot there. The massive dungeon sitting right in the city center is the ultimate zone for power leveling in the classic game. Players can grab much higher tier gear just by going deeper, but even though thousands of players have tried, not a single one has ever cleared the entire maze. He actually used a cheat to reach the 150th floor, and the dungeon kept going. Just like in the game, relic artifacts are constantly unearthed here. Because of this, working as a magic appraiser became highly sought after, guaranteeing a wealthy lifestyle. Ryan mentioned she is taking the licensing exam soon, and she should pass it easily, perhaps. He gave Ryan a rather small gift compared to the others. He should send her some separate funding since that token gesture was not nearly enough. Meanwhile, in the lawless labyrinth city called Lania, a territory ruled by no master, mercenaries and explorers gather from all over. If one passes the endless shops in the southern district, a peculiar spot appears. It is a secret appraisal shop called Mr., famous for its unique services that cater strictly to elite, A-rank adventurers. Even the Lord of Lania himself visited. Acquiring an unusual relic that ignites flames with basic mana, it can even receive custom engravings. This specific engraving allows a tiny trickle of mana to keep the fire burning for at least an hour. Behind the counter, we see a mysterious masked figure. It is Hyde, showing off another relic that is also capable of holding an engraving. The real reason this tiny shop on the corner is so incredibly popular is because her engraving technique is a direct blessing from the Great Moon. When Hyde was first told to work as an appraiser, she was genuinely confused. Her true identity is that of a close companion of Palon, dating back to the era of forgotten outer gods. She understood their ultimate mission was to purge the deadly plagues, but she simply could not connect this mundane assignment with their grand goal. Surely, playing around with relics had absolutely nothing to do with destroying terrifying plagues, but the moment she examined his gift, she finally understood. It was the Eye of the Stalker, a truly terrifying artifact. She quickly spots magic limits on relics, making her appraisals highly accurate. Yet this item is entirely different. Not a single trace exists in her vast library. With the seals broken, a hidden engraving unlocks, offering her a dangerous path to power. To survive against monsters, she must awaken the artifact, unlocking forbidden skills along the way. But the price is steep. 252 sacrifices are required for its full awakening. As the relic grows stronger, it slowly drains her, consuming her from within. The eye itself begins to alter, and this cursed item only responds to high-tier relics. No one else can scan these relics and mark the ultimate sacrifices with engravings. This unique talent is hers alone, a grim burden she must carry. Armed with the Library of Eternity, she will do whatever it takes to wake this eye. Her ultimate goal, slay the black wolf that destroyed her life. Everything follows the will of the Great Moon. 3 weeks later, we arrive at the Blue Magic Tower. With the master away, the fierce vice master, Phinia Chryson, is now running the show. Slammed with paperwork, she coldly demands that Alon state his business without wasting her time. Alon stops. Her face is incredibly familiar from the game's main story. In the original plot, she was known as an absolute prodigy who only appeared occasionally. She reached the 8th circle at 20, eventually taking over as the ultimate master. Magic Tower dominates through military might and a monopoly on essential luxury goods. This massive influence grants the tower's elite a status equal to highest nobility. As vice master, Phinia's political reach and raw authority are absolutely immense. Standing his ground, Alon introduces himself as Count Zenonia, here to discuss a critical matter. He directly offers to completely eliminate the time gate, a phenomenon she cannot ignore. These rifts open up dangerous, chaotic subspaces where heavy magic is released. Pure devastation, that's all these chaotic anomalies leave behind. Phinia scoffs, telling Alon to get out since his weak mana is a joke. She insists that shutting down the gate and claiming its treasures is beyond him. Countless desperate fools knock on her door every single day, making the exact same claims. But Alon remains calm, requesting a simple chance to prove his words at the gate. Phinia sees right through him, realizing he is chasing a massive political victory. He needs to silence the rumors that he inherited his title purely by luck. Yet she refuses to let him use her sacred magic tower for a stunt. Talk about annoying, these rumors are spreading way too fast. Even if Phinia is buried in work, she knows exactly what happens outside. Behind her desk lies a truly dangerous monster who tolerates no disrespect. A terrifying pressure floods the room. Honestly, this pressure is absolutely unreal. Evan starts sweating bullets, whispering that they will get torn to shreds if they push further. No fear, Alon just walks right through her crushing aura. He makes a bold promise: if he fails to destroy the gate, he surrenders his entire estate. A soul-binding oath ensures she loses absolutely nothing, making it a completely risk-free offer. Intrigued by the gamble, she agrees, fully expecting to claim all his riches. Phinia studies him closely, wondering if he is a master strategist or just an idiot. But after watching his clumsy movements, she quickly makes up her mind. A total joke, he is just a lucky noble with zero talent. He carries a strange, imposing vibe, yet his mana reserves are pathetic. At best, he only has a slightly decent knack for sensing magic. She finds him totally pathetic, believing there is no need to close the gate since it should naturally disappear in 3 months after spitting out the relic, ending their research. But the real trouble is that the time gate in the Blue Magic Tower kept causing chaos for over 2 whole years, since he seems useless here. She coldly orders our hero to leave. She even asks if he plans to use his hand as medium instead of a proper staff, a primitive method straight out of old fairy tales. Telling him to stop mimicking hand signs and leave, suddenly everything freezes. She goes completely rigid as a massive eye slowly opens, locking her in place. She is frozen solid as the observing eye instinctively activates. An unknown presence shines through its gaze, showing her something that should never exist: a poison chalice destined for ruin. Suddenly, a giant hand reaches out, exerting an absolute command that forces the vice mage to obey. The temporal gate is finally forced shut, a task our protagonist finds quite easy thanks to his unique tools and methods. He picks up the relic that Sharon spat out. Planning to use it again, he casts a spell of conviction. Seeing that she fell right under the spell, she looks completely in shock. Stammering that she will keep quiet, she starts crying out that she will stay absolutely silent and never reveal a word, promising to keep the secret. Our hero has no idea why she is suddenly panicking like this. Out of nowhere, so he and his knight Evan simply head out. Later, she brings him a high-grade mana potion she made herself. He is genuinely surprised by the gift from the Vice Tower Master. It is top-tier quality, and she asks if he enjoyed it. He can see she is incredibly grateful for his help. Overwhelmed by his spell, she promises to keep the Count's secret in absolute silence. He wonders why she is acting so submissively, guessing she must have misunderstood everything. Still, she takes the magic oath to prove her absolute loyalty. He realizes she has no intention of clearing up the misunderstanding. Either way, he managed to get the exact relic he came for. Along with 5 top-grade potions and her oath, he departs with his faithful knight Evan. Looking at the hard-won item, it feels surprisingly crude. And yet, it was something he absolutely needed for his plans. Securing the seal of the profane went smoothly, and the gem in the bracelet works perfectly, drawing in and storing mana from the surrounding air. The capacity is not massive, but it is more than enough for his needs. His real goal is self-preservation and magical research, not fighting, allowing his body to function with very little mana. Still, he can't help but wonder what exactly Fina misunderstood about the closing of that portal. Her sudden, extreme politeness was too strange. He tells her that he has only reached the 2nd circle of magic, and she looks relieved, reacting just like Kalia did, although she still seems a bit uneasy. She nods along. It honestly does not matter since he won't be seeing any of them again. For now, things are peaceful. Meanwhile, Duchess Alia meets with Lady Zenonia, noting it has been quite a while since their last encounter. Following the instructions left by our protagonist, she greets the girl warmly, glad to find such a convenient opportunity. She knew they needed to discuss their status and authority. She recalled Count Palatio advising her to visit Duchess Altia. Following his guidance, his true motives for their meeting became clear. As they spoke, both women realized they were beneath Palatio. Their alliance was forged under Elan's command, making power struggles pointless. Struggles meant nothing beneath the absolute number 1. Zenonia and Altia grew closer. They were now comfortable allies. She mentioned visiting him after receiving his letter. The timing of her visit was just his excuse. Reading it over, she saw it was mostly about noble families, looking like a simple, normal apology. But a hidden scheme was buried inside, and this changes everything. Zenonia had to bring this up with Altia. He explicitly wrote that very few nobles pleased him. Baron Kenya is with the noble faction, while Maris Morante is a massive player for the royalists. Viscount Balanda is royalist too, and Duke Faldiel leads the opposing noble faction. These were the very high-ranking nobles he met at the ball. Simply put, he despises both factions. They realize he might be planning to eliminate them all. Judging by basic common sense, looking at the facts, they believe Elan wants to purge the current noble factions entirely. To match this, Altia needed heavy influence, so he made her a duchess. With the hegemon of the West on their side, they could plot their next move. Meanwhile, at the Blue Magic Tower, the Count notes a strange resemblance to the gate. The puzzle pieces are finally coming together. Watch closely, Moss states. He wants to go home, sick of endless traveling. Luckily, it is time for Yudia's letter to arrive, which should reveal her exact location. We see a girl with white hair dressed as a priestess. Meanwhile, Fenia's master returns and warns his disciple. He can no longer feel the gate of time. Ricardo, the master of the Selling Magic Tower, asks her what happened, but she acts strangely, claiming she only finished the Lord's task. He senses something major went down. Still, she gets defensive, snapping back as usual, since Fenia became vice master of the tower at such a young age. Her raw talent fueled an arrogant, reckless streak. She often made novices cry with her terrible attitude, yet he never corrected her personality. Knowing her passion for magic was completely genuine, he figured once she reached the 7th circle, she would realize how petty her achievements truly were. Humility would follow, but her current state makes no sense. He notes that her trip to the north was exceptionally long, demanding to know her actions. The Count apparently sealed the gate of time, raising serious questions about her role in their oath. Though she hides the details, she recounts the contract she made with that man. What actually forced Fenia into humility was an unbelievable, unique spell. She was so terrified that she did not even flinch. As his hand gently brushed her hair, Count Elan of Asteria was indeed the only man capable of breaking Fenia's arrogance. A month after returning from the Blue Magic Tower, our main character obtained the corrupted mark. Training hard, he dove into deep research on magical phrases, discovering the precise laws governing how they amplify spells, sensing a deeper connection. Evan is still trying to figure out how to define them, so he tells the Count that his magic is clearly growing stronger and stronger right before his eyes. This second circle magic is unlike anything seen before. It is on an entirely different level. Compared to where it stood months ago, he knows a simple medium gravity. Spells should not be able to leave a crater that massive. After all, gravity is second circle. Magic which even at maximum power cannot completely crush a target to its end. He believed he was growing more powerful, but now thinks it is an illusion, if there is a clear reason why his power increased so dramatically. It cannot be from simple proficiency or phrases. After all, a boost in magical proficiency only improves precision and execution speed. Phrases act more like trigger words to alter elemental attributes. He spent months analyzing the arrangement of gravity phrases and has basically used the exact same ones interchangeably. In the end, he discovered that power only grows gradually as he carefully adjusts the ideal arrangement, with no logical reason for his magical firepower to skyrocket. Perhaps he is simply in peak condition. He hands over Whittia's letter, which has just arrived, even though he has already exhausted all 3 of his daily spell limits. A sudden, massive jump in magic power might actually be the reward for a curse, an Eastern ritual where the caster sacrifices their own soul to place a curse on someone else or even themselves. When inflicted, the victim suffers a penalty but gains a compensating reward, but there is no one from the East around, so that is impossible. Maybe he is receiving divine faith, but a minor lord from a small, forgotten kingdom, ignored by the underworld, should not receive immense faith and golden blessing. For now, he decided to put it out of his mind and move on, hoping nothing terrible happens. Meanwhile, the Holy Kingdom of Rosary capital, Rional, is a pure white sanctuary where the citizens worship Caronia, the goddess of the moon and peace. In the Eastern prayer house, the young nun Alia greets Lord Locketch, who notices she is a simple nun, ranked far below a paladin, lacking even the sash of holy grace. Still, he respects Alia, acknowledging they managed to save 8 children and 25 lives from a small village in the Far East, thanks to her efforts, but she insists he is the true hero of those deeds, explaining that he was the mentor who guided a once ignorant man, making him eternally grateful to her. For 20 long years, he lived in dark despair because he could not feel any divine power and was ready to give up until he met Alia, who told him that if he desired it so deeply, he must place his faith in the moon. He finally understood what a true life change meant. In his desperation, he was willing to try anything, so he prayed to the moon for several days, just as Alia had suggested. Miraculously, he learned how to wield incredible divine power, but fell to a fleeting temptation. He placed his absolute faith in the moon itself, rather than goddess Caronia, fearing he might have strayed onto the path of heresy. Yet all power borrowed from the gods felt exactly the same. Even artifacts granted in the goddess's name glowed brightly in his hands, proving his newly acquired divine strength. Still, he questioned Alia about why she had urged him to pray to the moon. She explained that true faith comes from an invisible belief, taking a long time to manifest. It is always much easier finding what you need and what is truly real. The moon would always be there with him. He knew it was true because the goddess Cyrenia was the moon itself, serving as a way for doubtful humans to believe in her with complete and absolute certainty. He thanked the sister from the bottom of his heart. After finally gaining proof that his faith was real, to show gratitude, he agreed to pray together. He loved Yusha's idea. He would gladly pray as many times as needed. She smiled. He arrived just in time, so they gathered and went inside the church. She began praying to the moon. This was Yusha Ludia, a sister from the Holy Kingdom of Rosary, once known as a sinner, now devoted nun. Today, nothing special. Alon realizes it instantly, meaning everyone is living a pretty good life, which is great, though he is slightly sad. Because only Yusha writes, no one else. To them, he is just some lord they have never seen before, so they do not care. Still, he has already achieved his goal of guiding them onto a safer path, preventing total destruction. There is no reason to feel sad. None. He should be at peace. Yusha is probably busy, but she still manages to write letters regularly. She raised 5 children, yet only the eldest recognizes her hard work. Evan asks if he is busy because he received new information about the children from the guild, specifically regarding Hadon, who was Alon's last inquiry. After all, he has become a pirate by now. Alon imagines this. It is incredibly strange. First, the rumors of Saren and Deus. Saren achieved a 32-win streak, which is required to become the Baba Yaga. The fighter with the longest streak is the Lion King, boasting 41. Streak, that character, was totally overpowered, and he briefly joined the player's party. The colony depends on powerful fighters to project its military strength, and she is about to surpass the colony's very top ranks. As for Deus, the order executed one of the 8 barbarian chiefs, Korga, from the snowfield, the chieftain leading those who turn into monsters. Through unholy rituals, Alon knows them well since he fought against them and eliminated the god Utrus back in the game. Avoid them, he is glad to. Since Utrus only appears after the 5 sins gather, this means he will not worry about Deus. He's handled on the same level as Reinhardt, the first sword. Meanwhile, Rein became an appraiser who is printing black engravings that enhance an artifact's active abilities. So Alon asks if Hadon actually became a pirate, as that is the main point of their conversation. Evan explains the 7 archipelagos located off the coast of Rakes, where the great pirates reside. He became captain of the first archipelago, which is the largest of them all. A post he once laughed at became reality. Alon did not send him to Rakes for this exact reason. Hadon is excellent at finding enemies, being a rare relative of the sea god, free to move through the deep water. There are also many precious relics in the ocean, and he became a treasure hunter with a pretty promising future. A great pirate captain means he is now the lord of the island and a highly important figure. Alon wonders how Hadon managed to eliminate the captain of that first archipelago. After all, those captains are superhuman and have never lost a naval battle. Alon considers the possibility that the boy recovered the true jewels from the ancient relics. To get his hands on a powerful relic, he had to spend hours grinding through minigames, preparing himself to finally seize the captain's position. He knows the world rarely works in his favor, but this latest news is incredibly bitter. Meanwhile, the Count is starting to feel unwell as something stirs deep within the Corxia Principality. Right here lies the massive ocean city of Rakes, with the 7 infamous pirate havens sitting just off the coast. The grandest territory among them is the first archipelago, the legendary pirate Alcra the Red Slayer used to rule this area as captain. He secured divine protection from the Celestial King by offering immense wealth, and here is the man who struck him down to claim the captaincy of the first archipelago. This is the chaotic outcome our hero brought about. Now he quietly wonders about the Great Moon. He never cared much before, nor did he spend time dwelling on the entity. At first he only saw him as a benefactor. Back then, he was destined to perish as a slave, but his life changed when he met Ute and awakened his true power. Honestly, he was simply taking orders from Yusha while operating within the Blue Moon. That is, until a direct command arrived from the Great Moon, leaving him utterly confused. He did not understand why he was being sent to hunt treasures, and detested the idea. All he wanted was swift vengeance for his lost home. Demonic black beasts had completely wiped out his clan, who once lived peacefully on a secluded island. When he escaped to the continent of the Cursed Ones, ruthless hunters killed his weary parents and sold him off into terrible slavery. He could not see how hunting treasures would ever help his quest for retribution. Still, he knew he had to at least pretend to obey his master's commands. Just listen to that ship deck, absolutely roaring with celebration over their latest victory. The crew boasts that only a truly chosen pirate lord can gain divine blessings through gold. Soon, the elite captains of the 7 archipelagos gather together. That is when he spots the very killers who slaughtered his family, plotting his path to bloody revenge through a sacred ritual using the remains of the sea god's kin, a warrior like that can inherit the terrifying power of the ancient sea god Cleed. Every single captain of the 7 archipelagos commands this divine strength. These monsters carved his parents into 7 fragments, and he wonders how the sins discovered his secret. He never mentioned his past, making it seem as though, look at how perfectly his master laid the path, yet he cannot strike just yet. His enemies are elite superhumans empowered by the might of a god. If this scenario was carefully designed, there must be distinct purpose behind the strange necklace he was gifted. The Great Moon has surely laid the groundwork for his entire vendetta from the shadows. Standing on the island shore, he dives straight into the dark waves, clutching the artifact as it begins to glow. This legendary relic, known as Amriita's goggles, grants him the power to find deep-sea relics, easily providing him with rare artifacts that can finally bolster his own limited strength. He realized how foolish he was to doubt, and now feels immensely grateful. After all, the Great Moon kept its word to Ran the pirate. not only delivering his mortal enemies directly to him, but providing the tools to crush them. Having the power to execute it, he now understood what the Great Moon meant in that letter. The true goal was clear: carry out his revenge and seize control of the 7 archipelagos. That white-haired girl assured him everything was for the Great Moon. Those words once stirred absolutely nothing in him, but now they meant the world to his heart. A spark of confidence flared: everything was for the Great Moon. 3 months passed, the stifling summer heat faded, and winter finally arrived. The shifting season brought the grand, biennial social gathering of Asteria. Attendance was mandatory every 4 years, forcing him to join the crowd. Right on schedule, the carriages of various wealthy families lined up. Traveling in groups to avoid bandit raids had become a strange custom. But that night he discovered their family finances were in complete ruins. All by chance, his newly acquired noble title was just a lucky coincidence. Worse still, these annoying nobles posed a much bigger threat than bandits. He understood this mindset, knowing the royal palace ruled with iron authority. Their control over the vast eastern underworld was built on stolen wealth. For now, our hero was quite satisfied with his progress. He had completely abandoned the dirty underworld business for cleaner ventures. He was already earning more than enough to live comfortably elsewhere. This left the eastern underworld crawling with pathetic small fry. Meanwhile, rumors that he only became a count through pure luck spread. Just a lucky brat, they never saw him as the actual mastermind. They even assumed he was completely broke and threw endless insults his way. Not gonna lie, their constant nagging was getting pretty annoying to watch. These nobles were just royal errand boys, taking their frustrations out. It was incredibly stupid, since he never actually humiliated their families. He was not even the count back when their pride was crushed. Recognizing these toxic internet trolls for what they were, he decided to completely ignore them. Evan even brought some fresh, warm corn for our hero to snack on. Meanwhile, the far north remained a freezing wasteland, teeming with barbarians. It was a cursed domain where only lifeless, gray fog drifted around. Through the snow, a broken warrior crawled while cursing his enemies. This was the mighty Klein, one of the 8 legendary barbarian chiefs. Honor and death, that was their way, but he was cowardly deceived. A sneaky knight had tricked him under the guise of a grand duel. During that rigged fight, the great chief lost his arm, facing defeat. Unable to accept this end, the dying warrior screamed into the wind. He desperately begged for his people to summon their ancient and revered god. He invoked the name of Uluruz, the creature our hero feared most. As the desperate cry for the great god Uluruz echoed, the beast stirred. Daring to summon his name in such a dire moment actually worked. Mighty god Uluruz chose to grant the dying warrior his final wish. Meanwhile, the incredibly awkward carriage ride toward the grand gathering dragged on. Despite traveling in a massive group, the petty insults never stopped. He ignored them completely, choosing to simply rest alongside his companion Evan. By totally tuning out the noise, they easily won this patience battle. The greedy nobles brought extra escorts. They believed the rumors were true. They wanted to rush ahead, launch the plan, conquer the underworld. They were already dreaming of astronomical wealth and absolute power. They expected everyone to thank them for the lesson, complete delusion. But their fantasy shattered. A massive horde of monsters ambushed them. Light up the area, the knights frantically yelled, drawing their swords. They were just goblins. Normally, they were considered weak forest pests. But in massive numbers, even weak pests become a total nightmare. The guards were already dead, brutally slaughtered by these monsters. Strange purple crystals protruded from their twisted, mutant bodies. These variants were massive. Their physical limits were completely off the charts. With a terrifying collective howl, the crystal beasts lunged forward. They charged relentlessly, tearing through heavily armored knights with magic. Suddenly, a giant stone barrier rose up, a third circle rock wall. Then came a second circle shield. The vanguard's mage watched in disbelief. It was our hero casting these heavily reinforced spells, not their wizard. Frodo instantly cast compression, trapping the thrashing goblins in a spherical cage. Next came a vacuum spell, returning the compressed matter back to its origin. Stones imploded violently. The blast shredded the goblin vanguard instantly. Stop standing around, our hero barked orders at the frozen knights. The knights finally snapped out of it, charging into the fray. They unleashed fierce sword and spear strikes, while our hero provided magical artillery. By dawn, the last crystal monster was finally put down. The survivors were awestruck. Who was this insanely powerful mage? But here is the catch. Proto could only cast magic 4 times. After that, his mana pool would be dry, leaving him completely helpless. The worried nobles asked if he was hurt. He shook his head. Still, even with Evan guarding him, being powerless was deeply unsettling. He had considered traveling alone. However, a large noble group was safer. But those crystal-bodied goblins were the real issue. The amethyst meant trouble. But get this, a divine descent was already actively taking place. This bizarre crystal mutation, it only happens when an outer god descends. The affected monsters become monstrously aggressive, gaining immense strength. This was terrifying proof. The outer gods were finally coming to Earth. Normally, they only arrive after the 5 sins break reality's laws. But the children had not even awakened to their cardinal sins yet. This made no sense. He needed more information to find the cause. A premature divine descent could trigger the apocalypse way ahead of schedule. If this continued unchecked, absolute death would find them very soon. The next day, after a brutal journey, they finally reached Rod's mansion. The grand social gathering began, but our exhausted hero wanted to sleep. That battle had completely drained him. This fancy party felt like torture. Still, the venue was undeniably lavish, decorated entirely in pure gold. Nobles endlessly flaunted their wealth. Duke Rowe was clearly running a powerhouse. But our hero wanted no part in this. Aristocrats highly annoyed him. They stood there awkwardly. Someone dared to speak, offering him the finest meats from their territory alongside massive financial support. Our hero genuinely wondered why they were suddenly offering such incredible treasures. Silence, his face remained terrifyingly dark. The nobles panicked and fled. They delivered absolutely nothing. Flashback: during the goblin battle just a day ago, something crazy happened. The nobles cornered Baron Alman. They desperately needed his private mage. This third circle mage was hired purely to show off the Baron's wealth. He explained that the magic they witnessed was no basic spell. It far outclassed his own, likely hitting the 4th circle. Incredible. Count Palatio was no lucky fool. He had massive power. He needed no guards, showing his ruthless nature. They immediately planned to buy their lives with bribes, begging him on their knees. They begged for absolute mercy. Our Lord stood there, completely baffled by their drama. He was usually patient, but they had crossed the line. He told Evan he would handle it, casting a cold, dismissive glare. Sending Evan to the Information Guild, he began hunting for spicy political gossip. He spotted 2 elites whispering. His interest was piqued. Channeling mana into his ears, he quietly eavesdropped on their secret conversation. One was gossiping with a baron about Duke Aelia and Countess Zenonia. They wanted a new faction, yet they completely doubted this sudden alliance. Palatio did not care. Those 2 ruling families despised each other. This meant any alliance they forged was bound to collapse very quickly. But get this, the supposed mastermind behind this massive faction was a real shocker. They genuinely believed the faction leader was none other than Count Palatio. Our hero was stunned. This rumor was absolutely ridiculous. He had only met Duke Aelia once in his youth, and Zenonia's daughter twice. The current count, he had never even set eyes on him. How did this rumor even start? Just then, another guest approached. It was Carmen, the incredibly arrogant 3rd son of Duke Kailan. He hailed from the Ashalan kingdom, joining this massive global gathering. Palatio offered a polite greeting, though the man was clearly looking for trouble. He sneered, asking how a lucky nobody managed to become a count. Suddenly, 2 other nobles stepped in to defend our protagonist. They demanded to know why Carmen was insulting the kingdom of Asteria. The arrogant prince backed off, turning his smug attention back to Palatio. In his own mind, Carmen was a flawless, handsome romantic from afar. He had traveled across countries to claim Rage's youngest daughter as his bride. Confident that no woman could reject him, he openly judged her looks. He remarked right in front of her mother how gorgeous she was. This sheer arrogance made her immediately rethink the entire marriage arrangement. Now he was desperately chasing after Rage's daughter, completely baffled. He could not comprehend why they canceled it over a simple joke. Realizing his entire journey was a total waste, he decided to find Palatio. After all, he heard the new count was incredibly weak and soft. Carmine saw the quiet noble as the perfect target to vent his frustration. He arrogantly claims the Ashtalan kingdom is their close ally. But out of nowhere, three massive political heavyweights step into the room. Even the most politically clueless nobles instantly recognize this powerhouse trio. There is the aristocratic leader, Duke Lotiger, standing alongside Marquis Mardanio. They immediately defend Alan, leaving Carmine looking completely and utterly confused. Standing right beside them is the moderate faction leader, Count Palin. Together, these three formidable figures form the absolute backbone of the Asteria kingdom. They start tearing into Carmine, demanding to know why he is speaking so rudely. Lotiger asks if the youngster has absolutely no respect for the kingdom's nobility. They are all absolutely furious at Carmine's incredibly condescending attitude toward Alan. But Alan feels extremely awkward being protected by people he barely knows. Still looking at them, a sudden wave of familiarity washes over him. He remembers these exact Asteria nobles completely ruining Carmine during the game. Just thinking about them brings back some highly stressful military memories. Terrified and outmatched, Carmine mutters a quick apology and scrambles away. The three powerhouse nobles immediately turn and ask if Alan is all right. Their extremely respectful behavior catches him completely off guard. Seeing such high-ranking figures act this way makes the rumors seem true. With Duchess Aelia and Zenonia backing him, his power is absolute. This massive misunderstanding is making his life incredibly complicated. The nobles realize they have never actually had a real conversation with him. They mention hearing about his brilliant magic research and his rare artifacts. Marquis Mardanio offers to present him with a powerful, mana-filled artifact. Suddenly, everyone is preparing gifts, though Alan wishes they would all stop. Even so, he cannot resist the sweet temptation of free magical loot. He happily walks away with 2 rare artifacts and 5 mana potions. Later that night inside Duke Lotiger's private annex, a secret meeting begins. Marquis Mardanio reports that Alan accepted the gifts with open arms. While minor gifts are polite, rare artifacts carry heavy political weight. Taking such highly valuable treasures means officially joining their powerful alliance. Marquis Mardanio credits Duchess Aelia for making this incredibly brilliant recruitment effort possible. Aelia warmly welcomes the Marquis, glad they now share the same goal. She asks how the rest of the nobility responded to their invitations. Marquis confirms they all accepted, amazed at Aelia's cunning strategy. Although she rarely acts in public, she personally contacted key targets. She handpicked each noble, binding them to her through strategic bribery. Even though rumors are spreading fast, the political tide is turning. Mardanio wants to seize this chance, and Aelia is ready. By the 4th day of the banquet, even more treasures arrive. Everyone is treating Alan like absolute royalty because of those fake rumors. They still believe he is secretly involved with Duchess Aelia and Zenonia. He decides to just accept the loot for now and run later. Suddenly, his trusted knight, Evan, rushes in with some shocking news. Alan is completely stunned to hear that an actual outer god has descended. News arrives that a god descended in the north, throwing the region of Caliban into absolute chaos. Ancient texts suggest those amethysts linked to outer gods. Their search leads them north. To a small village near Ashtalan, Alan announces they must immediately head to Caliban. Evan is completely baffled. Why must they head north? Alan promises to explain everything on the road, prompting their immediate departure. He honestly never expected things to escalate this quickly. A disaster is brewing. The connection between the 5 cardinal sins and outer gods remains a mystery. No one can predict which celestial entity will choose to descend next. That is precisely why he must gather intelligence and move without delay. The rapid pace of events catches him off guard, creating hundreds of dangerous possibilities. Many of these scenarios never even appeared when he played the game. If things continue down this path, the allied kingdoms will utterly collapse. They will tear themselves apart in foolish wars, poisoned by cosmic energy. His own life would end in a flash unless he drafts a clever counter-strategy. Fortunately, a newly descended god requires a stabilization period of several months. Only after this rest will the deity fully awaken. Before that, they manifest through proxies. Targeting these vulnerable heroic spirits during this window is his absolute best option. Success is not guaranteed, but he has to try. He quickly drafts a letter. He stamps it with his personal seal, wondering what kind of gifts the boy prefers. A week later, the commander receives the dispatch. It postpones the northern march by 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Alan arrives in Pakram, a small, quiet village nestled far in the north. He never expected to locate his target so easily in this remote area. Not gonna lie, finding the legendary playable character is almost too easy. This main character of Psychedelia definitely stands out in any crowd. The resemblance is striking. Alan approaches him directly. Alan asks for his name, and the child brightly introduces himself as Laban. Even if this world has changed, a true protagonist is still recognizable. He is destined to grow incredibly powerful, but right now, he is surprisingly cheerful. Alan smiles, handing the boy a heavy bag of gold coins to help him start. Evan chimes in, showering the bewildered kid with high-grade mana potions and gifts. This sudden generosity is a calculated investment in the future hero's early growth. Alan encourages him, saying he is destined for greatness and must grow quickly. The kid needs to prepare for the dark challenges ahead, realizing he forgot his manners. Alan introduces himself as the Count of Palatio, shocking the young boy. Laban expresses his deep gratitude, promising to never forget this generous noble. Alan recalls that in the game, Laban was never this cheerful. Since the original story was incredibly dark, his bubbly optimism is a shock. Evan wonders if they should stay and have a proper, longer conversation. But with lives on the line, Alan has no time to waste. Instead, he basically set the legendary protagonist on an automated leveling route. Evan notes that the child possesses staggering talent, with dense, swirling mana. Despite his simple, tattered clothes, hidden magical artifacts hum with power. He is radiating the classic aura of a hero right before their grand journey. This deviation from the original game might trigger some major butterfly effects. Regardless of what changes, Alan is determined to keep his comfortable lifestyle intact. Ellie remains one of the few truly kind-hearted people in this miserable world of dark fantasy. He never worries, asking Evan if Sins will find them soon. He was always too afraid to visit the orphanage, but now he wants those Sins. 10 days later, they reach Cerdon, Caliburn's capital, standing right in front. Of the gate, Evan finally arrives, completely worn out from the journey. If the road had been straightforward, he might actually hold his head up high. They have been traveling constantly from place to place, preparing for the war against the outer gods. Even so, these offerings make him wonder if God will be satisfied. Their turn for the city gate inspection is next, ending with a check. Identity verification is fast, which is a major relief for Evan. But a slight problem quickly pops up for the Count to handle. They are ordered to step aside, demanding to know why. His papers are checked and they suspiciously ask if he is truly Count Palatio. Then Varen arrives. He is the direct disciple of Master Knight Fiola, the Fourth Sword. Confronting Evan, the arrogant challenger asks why our hero brought armed knights with him. Varen demands to know the meaning of this escort traveling beside him. Apparently, a mutual friend back in the Asteria Kingdom sent word about a massive debt. Evan instantly guesses Carmine. Varen nods, saying he deeply offended his friend. Carmine was humiliated beyond measure, begging this knight to track Evan down. If he wanted to improve his skills, he needed more abyssal bodies to practice on. Since he owed his friend, he wanted to put on a nice show for him. Evan sighs, realizing Carmine picked a fight all on his own, and then ran. Varen warns the Count to hand over the carriage contents to survive. Since this is a simple requested favor, he has nothing to lose, but our hero notices he is just a minor noble from the Asteria Kingdom, with absolutely zero influence in this union and no ties here. Even if things go wrong, his master will resolve it, but as he lunges forward, a heavy hand grips him by the throat from behind. Evan stands right behind him, asking how he dared touch his benefactor. The crucial truth is, Varen completely failed to realize who he is facing. He did not know this Count easily defeated the swordless Kurga. Stopping him from attacking Alan is Dios Malian, the massive knight. Dios warns both of them that any sudden movement means severe pain. Evan is incredibly relieved, glad this terrifying master knight is on their side. Without warning, Dios starts absolutely pummeling the arrogant challenger. Evan watches the brutal beatdown, thinking he does a pretty amazing job of it. Dios is absolutely furious that anyone would dare try to threaten his benefactor. When he was young and small, he was just a grateful kid. Under proper sponsorship, he matured beautifully into a powerful warrior. He grew up to become an exceptionally upright young man. Perhaps he behaves like this because his adoptive father was such a highly respected figure. Even so, Evan finds this extreme reaction a bit excessive. Interestingly enough, Dios happens to be one of the 5 great sins of this era. He looks directly at our protagonist, choosing him as his absolute master. Suddenly, Delman, the captain of the Crimson Flame Knights, steps forward. He declares to Culkin the Great, one of the 8 grand chiefs, that his clan has been completely annihilated, marking a massive victory for the Crimson Flame Knight. He immediately decides to return to their advanced maintenance base, having secured achievements of this huge magnitude, refusing to be outdone now that he has become a master knight, even if he used underhanded tricks unknown to anyone. Caliburn and the barbarians have always fought wars that respect true honor. But he easily deceived Culkin, making sure he was isolated with an infiltration force riding this momentum to successfully wipe out the entire clan, completely fooling one of the 8 chiefs. He wonders why the bastard finished Kurga of the Snowfield, since he desperately needed a clear victory from this expedition. Culkin's corpse vanished during the battle, likely hidden away by the barbarians. Even if he were still alive, the deadly poison should have killed him. In any case, everything will be settled once he returns to Caliburn to report this achievement. However, he soon realizes the advanced base has been taken by Delman. He attacks immediately the moment he senses Delman's aura, knowing that Culkin should be dead yet still stands there. The warrior says Delman profaned a sacred duel staked on honor. Now, this beast is about to devour a superhuman, capable of cutting down hundreds of lives with a single sweeping sword stroke. Delman notices it is not Culkin standing there, sensing a sinister aura and hearing a voice from beyond. This voice commands him to answer, asking if it isn't his own fault for trusting a promised duel on the battlefield. The mysterious voice says he has risen to a grand human tier, making this his last chance. Thus, the ghost of Culkin demands a final honorable duel. All the knights prepare their swords, igniting them in flames. He raises his fingers and declares them dishonorable mortals who do not deserve the mercy of an honorable death. The knights feel immense pain and begin to rot as he raises his fingers. He then begins to slaughter them one by one, using only his bare hands. Delivering devastating attacks that make bodies explode, he places his hand on the knight, inflicting severe pain. The entity says that all the savages in this place are made from those who were denied an honorable death, welcoming them to this bloody Colosseum, introducing himself as the god of all barbarians, Vuros, the father of duels, wishing to personally grant an honorable end, demanding they prove they are not mere savages through this final duel. Meanwhile, Dios Malian guides the protagonist and Evan to a specific location, and they notice he bows his head despite his incredible pride. In Caliburn, Dios Malian's aspirations as a swordless warrior are as high as the heavens. He received no punishment for beating up the second prince who harassed his sister. He would never show respect to anyone but the king, making this bow absolutely insane. To account from another nation, seeing the swordless warrior bow, everyone realizes that Count Palat is extremely important. He asks them to board a highly luxurious carriage. Evan asks Alan to go ahead while he follows in a much more ordinary carriage. They soon see that Dios lives in a huge mansion, having plenty of staff and luxurious goods. To show his deep respect and consideration, Alan decides to get straight to the point, stating that the reason he has come is to make a request to Dios. When Dios hears this, knowing it is not framed as a request instead of an order, he becomes happy and asks him to keep speaking. Once they sit down, he notices something odd. The host is supposed to take the highest chair, yet he is treated with absolute respect, just like a true ruler. Recognizing this great treatment, he finally brings up his request. He knows the heavy burden Deus carries and asks him to travel north. Without a second of hesitation, the young knight accepts the offer. He was already preparing for a northern expedition, which explains his quick agreement to the request. But the most difficult part is borrowing a specific legendary item. He wants to borrow the madman's ring straight from Caliburn's royal treasury. Meanwhile, a guard reports to the vice commander after returning from a mission. On that escort duty, someone visited the brother of a little girl. Deus asks to inform everyone that they will postpone their northern trip. They must delay for 2 weeks, since his benefactor will visit soon. He knew this because of a letter, right before Count Palatio arrived. His arrival surprises everyone, and returning to the present, he asks again. He requests the Ring of Radiance from Caliburn, knowing it is a senseless demand. It is a massive favor that would put him in debt to the royals. Still, this powerful ring is absolutely essential for his grand plan. Just as Deus is about to accept, Evan suddenly walks in and interrupts. Sensing the heavy atmosphere, Evan decides to present Deus with special gifts. He tells Evan to bring everything in, filling the young knight's room. This creates a warm mood, with gifts chosen carefully to please him. Deus decides to open the presents only when alone. He feels it would be rude to do so in front of his master. Alon notices the boy treats him with absolute respect for keeping him safe. He politely asks for the ring again, and Deus promises to bring it. He says it is kept in the treasury and will take a week to get. But even if the king is annoying, he will get it by any means. He is willing to eliminate 50 people just to secure the ring. He asks if they can leave now, completely serious about the threat. Lon wants to finish this quickly, finding Deus's intense attitude highly exaggerated. Just then Deus's sister appears, and Evan immediately recognizes Sylvie. The two are close friends and are happy to see each other. In the original game, Alon saw the tragic death of Deus's younger sister. But seeing her now, he notices she is the exact copy of her brother. However, Deus steps in to protect her, claiming they are not friends. Alon knew Deus was broken after losing family, but this is extreme. The overprotective brother warns Evan not to get anywhere near his sister. He realizes Deus is so respectful to him because he saved Sylvie's life. Because of that, the young knight is willing to do absolutely anything. Sylvie goes to speak with Count Palatio, while Evan explains the truth. Saving her was essential, as her brother would have become a mindless killing machine. They sincerely thank Alon, who usually does not help out of pure kindness. Still, receiving their heartfelt gratitude is actually a pretty nice feeling. And so his stay at the McCallion mansion officially begins. Alan finally gets his hands on the ring. The very next morning, he wonders how it arrived so incredibly fast. Turns out, Evan heard some wild gossip about Deus throwing an absolute tantrum right inside the palace gates. When the second prince tried to refuse the artifact, Deus actually slapped him right across the face. 3 days later, he joins the expedition heading north. Accompanied by the knights, 2 weeks pass and wild reports begin to arrive. Horrifying rumors spread from the outpost border in northern Caliber. They speak of devastation. An outer god has arrived, leaving endless casualties. The fallback plan is to yield to the barbarians. Yet some leaders refuse to back down. One angry commander argues against the retreat. They claim the soldiers are too broken. Without the kingdom's first blade, they have no hope. Defeat seems certain, until a sudden loud clap echoes through the tense room. Fiola, Caliber's fourth blade, demands silence. She commands the order of perseverance. She wants to rethink their strategy, especially with the outer gods bringing chaos to the outpost. On the eastern flank, tragedy has already struck. Delman, the third blade, is dead. Meanwhile, further east, Caliber's second blade, Curana, has been critically wounded in battle. Michaelia warns that these visions of horror are drawing near. The danger is close. They can feel a corrupted, malevolent mana approaching, a chilling power. Only the awaken can sense it. This sinister presence makes everyone think of running away. Talk about a shift, our hero is just casually using legendary magic to roast sweet potatoes. While discussing barbarian rituals, they realize they must save humanity. Deus believes this involves the Order of the Silver Shadow and their second blade, Curana. She is also the vice master of the Magic Tower. This blue-haired girl has a request. She wants them to watch the situation closely, but when she tries to dismiss our hero, she freezes. She had no idea it was actually him. The girl is completely speechless. Stunned, she wonders how he got here. Alan calmly tells her that the rumors are real. Sadly, the medicine she mentioned is completely out of stock. She promises to prepare it later. She is incredibly busy right now. Our hero admits he was really hoping for her help. This makes her turn red with embarrassment. Since money is tight, Alan's payment will be late. But she insists a single coin is plenty. Alan is not about to refuse her kindness. When the vice commander actually smiles, her subordinates from the Magic Tower are completely stunned. They are shocked. She was just scammed out of hundreds of gold coins. She rushes off to prepare the mixture immediately, serving him with quiet devotion. The Magic Tower servants realize she deeply respects Count Alan. She treats him like royalty. Meanwhile, back inside the tent, Alan senses a dark presence. A wave of evil energy washes over them. Deus screams that they are under attack. He orders everyone to draw their weapons, but they are quickly being slaughtered. It is a total massacre until the girl unleashes her malignant shard technique. She conjures an icy mesh that wraps around the monsters, detonating them into pieces. But look at that horizon. Dio spots an even bigger, far more terrifying threat approaching. Staring down absolute despair, they face the physical incarnation of an outer god. The entity commands them not to insult the memory of those who lost their honor. One knight lands a direct sword blow to his chest, but he does not even flinch. The swift blade cannot even scratch his skin. He casually prepares to strike back. With a single counterattack, he slays his attacker, denying them a death with honor. Fiola is cut down in seconds, leaving everyone in absolute horror. As pure panic sets in, a mysterious figure slowly walks toward Utterus. Calling upon the great god of duels, Alan invokes the ancient oath of Calgulia. He stands ready to honor this promise, demanding a sacred Babylonian duel. Eurus is stunned. Someone actually remembers this forgotten ritual oath. Yet the god keeps slaughtering the helpless knights anyway. He quickly raises a bloody colosseum, ensuring absolutely zero interference from the outside. Eurus respects the pact and accepts this sacred Babylonian challenge. Alan shivers. This god's sheer presence is absolutely terrifying. He was dead wrong about Eurus being far from fully manifest. The closer an outer god gets to this world, the stronger they become. Their power easily rivals the cardinal sins. Alan only stands thanks to a special potion. Without it, he would have collapsed instantly from the sheer pressure. He had to trigger this turn-based duel before the transformation finished. Under these rules, the challenged defender always gets the first move. Eurus unleashes a devastating strike, wondering why his target is not moving. Alan just stands there, watching the massive attack crash right down on him. But the second rule forbids the defender from moving during the opponent's turn. Once hit, they are completely immobilized. Eurus deeply respects his honorable opponent. Alan did not even try to dodge. Now, the third rule begins. It states that players can only swap roles after the next turn ends. Now the roles swap. It is finally the defender's turn to act. Alan knows standard defense is completely useless against this god-level threat. He stacks heavy immobilization, condensation, and reinforcement spells together. He is willing to burn through his entire mana pool to survive. Eurus strikes with a devastating, overwhelming burst of ancient magic. When the heavy smoke clears, Alan is somehow still standing. He used a divine artifact combined with his supreme potion. The specialized elixir numbs his intense pain so he can stay conscious. Without it, he would have been crushed to dust by now. He utilized the exact artifacts requested from his commander and god. Although he is heavily damaged, the supreme potion keeps him moving. This life-or-death pressure successfully triggers a powerful state of frenzy. Activating his binding spell, Alan prepares to launch his counterattack. This intense boss fight operates on strict, turn-based mechanics. Honestly, dragging a literal god into a turn-based board game is pure genius. By forcing Eurus to play by these rules, Alan completely binds his actions. Eurus accepted, unaware of the reincarnation pendant and healing items Alan held. These crucial survival tools allowed him to endure the god's first strike. With the first hit absorbed, Alan quickly triggers his secret restriction. The Madman's Ring only activates when the user is hovering near death. Now on the brink of death, the restriction activates the ring. Believing this duel is sacred, Eurus will not defend or interrupt him. Normally, the player would take a heavy hit to remove the limit. But with no time limit here, he can unleash absolute devastation. Using his first restriction, Alan channels magic that brings extreme cold. The sheer frost twists reality itself as he casts his final diffraction. First, the second restriction is triggered, casting magic while on the brink of death. He bends reality to amplify his destructive light through sheer focus and concentration. Gathering this raw power, he aims to wipe out a literal god. By defying the laws of the world once more, he unlocks silence magic. Then comes the fourth restriction, which triggers when used directly against Eurus. Reality breaks, the ultimate force targets the great god of duels. It slams home, a blinding, massive explosion completely consumes the god. He prays this single, overwhelming strike is enough to destroy the god. But these terrifying outer gods do not simply perish from losing body parts. Even with a massive gaping hole in his chest and no heart, the god stands. God commends Alan's incredible power, stating that the final strike has failed. Every drop of Alan's hard-earned mana is gone, yet the deity remains. Then Alan spots a hellish, crackling flame rising around his opponent. Eurus calls it a magnificent battle. Suddenly, his body starts to fade. He warns Alan that it is crucial to keep an eye on the black and the blue. Accepting his defeat in the duel, Eurus bestows a parting gift of absolute authority. The god remembers the complex hand signs and the deep mysteries of the forgotten deity. He warns that when the usurpers eventually break free, Alan must call him. Not by some fake, lying title, but by his true name, Uterus. He must call upon the Wicked One, and with that, the entity vanishes. The battle is over. The expedition starts gathering up the dead. They prepare to return to Caliber. Meanwhile, the Magic Tower's vice commander speaks. She assumes Alan is only a second circle mage, but he quickly corrects her. Alan is actually third circle, and he asks about those black and blue colors. The woman immediately denies everything, acting incredibly terrified to even speak with him. Terrified, she quickly flees. Alan is left feeling like a villain. Their fear makes Alan feel like some kind of cruel villain at that moment. Alan still wonders why the outer god vanished after surviving the strike. Then he spots a very familiar belt inside the carriage that he recognizes from the game. It is the Belt of the Forgotten, a drop that doubles all damage. It is his first time seeing the hidden inscription, which points toward Kahara. Dios Malian scoffs at the terrified mage, running off without a goodbye. He offers to execute her, making Alan realize how bloodthirsty the boy is. 2 weeks pass, the group finally reaches Curatin, the capital. Dios Malian presents the official subjugation report directly to the king. The mission is done. The northern expedition officially comes to a close. Alan receives a mountain of luxurious gifts from the grateful king of Caliber. After investing nearly all his wealth to stay alive, this massive payoff is brilliant. Suddenly, Dios Malian asks if he can ever hope to match Alan's immense strength. It is a humble question from the youngest master knight in history. Even before the gods descend, these gifted kids possess terrifying potential. The boy is incredibly talented with the sword and will easily reach his goals. So Alan gently encourages him, saying hard work will get him there. But deep down, Alan is deeply envious of the kid's effortless talent. Wondering why he requests favors instead of issuing commands, this time our hero steps forward to speak. Because in this world, nobody bosses around their own blood, so when God Macallan hears that he is considered part of Count Alan's family, he is left completely speechless. Now our hero wonders if there is a hidden motive behind this sudden patronage. After all, he only sponsored him out of pure goodwill, no hidden strings attached. He fully understands why fatherhood is a thankless job. Still, he followed him to repay the kindness, only to end up receiving even more in return. God Macallan awkwardly fidgets to break the tense silence, wishing from the bottom of his heart. He possessed Count Alan's incredible magic talent. He just cannot stop thinking about the fact that our hero called him family. Finally, he arrives back at his mansion. After 3 long months, only to find a massive pile of paperwork waiting for him, he pretends it is not his room, immediately feeling completely crushed under the weight of all that work. After that, he takes a week off to rest his exhausted body and enjoy a peaceful life. During this week-long vacation, however, stress creeps back in, even without any work. He cannot stop worrying about the plagues attacking the sins, that bizarre blue entity, and the god of chaos, desperate to unravel the mysteries Taurus left behind regarding those strange ritual gestures. The god of chaos is a name Taurus had forgotten, just like the ancient Eastern gods, marking the first time he ever saw someone completely evaporate. Like that, he wonders why the man vanished without winning the duel, fearing that other gods might emerge, which is at least less troubling than the 5 cardinal sins. Since those gods grant life far too prematurely, he desperately wants to visit Curara, but has no idea where it lies. He quickly notes down details from the role-playing game so he won't forget. The city has not been discovered by explorers, and he highly fears making things far too complicated if he travels there. Soon, Evan notices a sudden chill from his freezing magic. He is getting better, researching nonstop during his quiet vacation. Evan also brings news that a secret city has been discovered. Kelowna, meanwhile, the Sins gather. Their regular blue moon meeting begins via crystal ball, just 10 minutes. The cat-eared girl mentions that the great moon Recently visited Caliber. Normally, God Macallan stays silent, but this time he shares his wild experiences with his siblings. He starts by describing the intense duel against Taurus, taking a full 50 minutes just to recount the entire battle. Coming to the absolute best part, he claims the only person who could possibly anticipate that final blow was the Great Moon, calling it a truly magnificent sight too. Watch the Great Moon battle and ready its strike. Yucha knows the Great Moon is on a completely different level of combat. 2 hours later, God Macallan finally finishes his epic tale. Their meeting lasted over 3 hours, breaking records all because of that single boy. Suddenly, Count Alan enters the room bearing numerous gifts. Evan says they are rare artifacts from the deep floors of the labyrinth, perfect for completing a high-tier quest. Strangely, he has absolutely no idea who these generous nobles actually are. Letters look highly formal, and everyone knows this windfall is all thanks to a single powerful contact. One lesson you learn quickly when working for small operations is that you always accept whatever gifts are handed down. Soon, another week passes and he gets even more packages, and they just keep piling up. He finds it wild what he can achieve just by knowing a master knight. God Macallan is a wonderful son. He will gladly overlook the complete lack of contact before this, especially given this mountain of treasures. A month later, those gifts keep on pouring in, and the gifts just keep piling up, making him seriously consider sending them back. They are just way too much, but as summer starts, the deliveries finally slow down. Over in the capital of Asteria, the Grand Assembly is about to begin. Alan is attending, but for the first time ever, he is actually running late. He hurries down the hall, deeply embarrassed, but then the other nobles start following him. Count Alan realizes he is not actually late at all. They were waiting for him. Inside the hall, the royalists sit on the left, and the aristocrats take the right. He quietly heads to the very back, yet everyone keeps staring directly at him. Literally every eye in the Grand Hall is locked onto Alan right now. Nobody wanted to sit up front, avoiding the gaze of the powerful faction leaders. As the meeting starts, a shocking announcement echoes through the chamber. A brand new faction named Kalpa has officially been granted voting rights. Count Palatio is named as its leader, leaving Alan as the only clueless one. Spotting two familiar women in the crowd, he remembers their secret alliance. It was Countess Zenonia and Duchess Althea who built this entire faction. They actually made him the boss. He is now the leader of an evil faction. This was definitely not part of the plan, the crowd whispers in awe. They wonder just how far this mysterious man will push his influence. Alan frantically tries to come up with a proper response. He has absolutely zero interest in playing the role of some dark villain. Since he stays silent, they just move on and congratulate him anyway. He is suddenly the star of the evening, and the celebrations begin. The two female conspirators approach him, asking if he is enjoying his night. Duchess Althea and Countess Zenonia are the exact same women he helped. He saved them years ago, never imagining it would lead to this. They are just thrilled to finally repay him for saving their lives back then. It turns out his simple suggestion for them to work together created this. The Kalpa faction was built entirely because of the letters he sent. Every gift they delivered was actually a coded message to their secret leader. But he honestly never instructed them to do any of this. He always wondered why their replies felt so incredibly strange and mismatched. Talk about a massive misunderstanding. His casual words were taken as genius commands. Apparently, people operating in the dark always overthink the simplest things. Althea definitely does not see it as some simple mistake. Still, he is terrified of their brutal game personalities if he rejects them. He decides to play along as faction leader for now, planning to retire later. Besides, he has already accepted way too many bribes to back out now. Since he knows zero about actual politics, he is completely lost. Still, he claims he will start by sweeping clean the criminal underworld first. He quickly exits the conversation before they start asking complicated questions. To avoid utter embarrassment, he quickly asks Evan if the letter was sent. Evan nods yes, and Alan tells him they must leave for Colonia immediately. They need to flee right now without looking back, but this was Zenonia's plan. By scaring him off, her forces can quietly take over the local underworld. They intend to unify the entire Dark Syndicate under his name, eagerly awaiting results. They also want to see what Alan Palladio does next, while plotting their own moves in the background. Their schemes are cut short when a rogue wearing an eye patch and clutching a dagger approaches. He locates the protagonist's carriage, thinking it will be an absolute breeze to take him down. But God Malon might interfere, and his own leader warned him to stay away. No one should fight such monsters, despite the massive reward. Still, he is pretty sure his master will understand once he explains the mission. Meanwhile, far to the south of the Ashutalan kingdom, we find Duke Callan's grand mansion. The killer arrives there alongside a close associate who knows him very well. He claims to have a direct line of contact with the legendary Seeker. They belong to the Agents, an elite guild of master-level swordsmen. They do not tolerate any loose ends, quickly wiping out the local henchmen. Duke Callan is quite impressed, noting their strength before asking him to eliminate Count Palatio. Naturally, the assassin cannot say no to a request coming from this man. After all, he is dealing with the notorious tyrant of the Ashutalan kingdom. A successful job means massive rewards, though he doubts Lord Carmine can truly pay. He specifically demanded 4 of those rare magic cubes in exchange for his services. These items are actually abyss entities, which are slightly different from normal orbs. Duke Callan usually sells them in very limited amounts on the black market. While orbs only boost physical traits, these entities grant unique special powers. They sell for insane prices, and the killer believes this will make him unstoppable. Chasing this kind of raw power is exactly why the Agents became so feared. With the prize in sight, he eagerly accepts the dangerous mission from Carmine. Carmine growls that Alan will pay dearly for disrespecting him in front of everyone. Let us look closer at Duke Callan, a powerful nobleman and massive underworld boss. The assassin asks the Seeker if pulling off this job is actually a smart move. Even with a massive payout, their leader warned them never to cross that family. Yet Duke Callan simply turns a blind eye, letting the assassin proceed as he pleases. He even casually asks if he should pass along some friendly regards to their leader. The Seeker then asks if they can expand their influence into the Asteria kingdom. But the response is bleak. They cannot make any moves there yet. The Cal faction led by Count Palatio is simply growing way too strong. This speaker is Chukro, a massive underworld boss in the Ashutalan kingdom. Callan grumbles that the Cal faction has made it highly inconvenient for him to move. Armed with his newly acquired abyss entity, the assassin closes in on the carriage. He claims he bears no personal grudge against Count Palatio, it is just business. He only wants the relic, but as he strikes, his arm is violently torn away. A heavy, crushing blow instantly rains down from above, shattering his entire body. One of the Sin girls stands over him, coldly stating he cannot move anymore. With a simple flick of her finger, she completely obliterates the arrogant assassin. He foolishly tried to target the Great Moon and paid the ultimate price. She notes he might have survived if he had targeted anyone other than Count Palatio. As the journey continues, intense desert heat sets in and 5 days pass by. Evan asks why he is not practicing magic, but one tiny mistake here is catastrophic. Still, tagging along with this caravan was definitely the right move for him. After all, navigating this harsh, unfamiliar desert alone would have been a nightmare. He is traveling alongside Lion Ollie's, the daughter of the Red Magic Tower Master. She is a rank 4 mage. Our hero argues with her, wishing for a moment of peace. His companion asks if he noticed the ice crystals hanging from her carriage. He warns that her father is a maniac, so it is best to stay far away from her. Suddenly, an ambush occurs, and masked ninjas begin striking down the travelers. They brutally cut down the guards, and one assailant takes the red-haired mage hostage. Holding her captive, he demands that everyone listen closely to his proposal. He orders them to cooperate in silence, warning that any resistance will end in tragedy. They quickly recognize the symbol of the Bloody Sand Bandits, who are after Lion. Bandits target her specifically, thrilled to have successfully tracked down the Tower Master's daughter. Overwhelmed by sudden trauma, Lion gasps for air and struggles to ask his name. Suddenly, a chilling frost fills the air, helping her breathe again as Count Palatio finally appears. He unleashes the legendary magic of the Snowlands to confront the bandits. Facing endless targetings due to her high status, Lion had developed severe trauma. Because of this, despite being a rank 4 mage, she remains highly sensitive to magical energy. She initially thought Alan was weak, barely possessing enough mana to even reach rank 2. Yet she knew he was a crucial player against the outer god and a great benefactor. Still, viewing him as a fragile weakling, she could not help but feel contempt. She felt contempt for Count Alan, but that disdain shatters when she watches him fight. To her shock, he seamlessly combines enchantments, linking three distinct elements together. This difficult feat requires a caster to connect several spell structures. Each chant has a completely distinct structure. The success rate plummets with every addition, yet he succeeds anyway. Mastering this technique normally requires a rank 5 mage at the very least. When the bandit lunges at him, our hero calmly deploys a freezing spell. After freezing his opponent solid, he shatters him with a devastating demolition technique. Seeing their leader instantly vaporized, the rest of the bandits begin to panic. Terrified, they scream for a retreat and scramble away into the distance. Lion watches in awe, realizing the unbelievable rumors about Alan's power are entirely true. With the threat gone, they celebrate with wine and food as everything goes smoothly. Bypassing his magical restrictions was a brilliant move, paving the way for his customized Snolan spell. It simultaneously manipulates space, ice, and magical upkeep. He transforms the area into a polar zone, though it drains his overall mana. Fighting in such extreme cold, or against divine forces, normally slashes a mage's output. Standard magic simply fails when pushed against the immense power of an outer god. But his clever spell design limits his lifelong penalties to just 3 minor setbacks. Still, combining 3 massive enchantments for a single minute is highly inefficient. Regardless, the combined enchantments of his Snolan's magic worked beautifully. Wielding his new artifact belt, his output skyrockets while completely resolving his penalty issues. Deeply humbled, Lion drops to her knees and sincerely apologizes to our hero. She begs to discuss magic with him, and he graciously accepts her sudden apology. Putting their past bickering aside, they converse deeply as they travel toward the city of Kelowna. Their exchange of ideas is fascinating, allowing him to learn valuable insights from her. Upon arriving in Kelowna, she cordially invites him to attend the upcoming magic conference. But our hero declines, noting that he is not affiliated with the association. Lon isn't with any tower and lacks an invite, so Leon invites him to join the Red Magic Tower. She really enjoyed their conversation. In the end, Alon accepts her invitation. They agree to meet at the Kelowna conference. Meanwhile, Evan says the luggage is already handled. He lets him know the exact meeting point. Suddenly, bodies go flying against the wall. Magic and flashes of wild lightning erupt behind them. Then, Alon senses something incredibly dark. He senses the presence of one of the 5 great sins. She rushes in and hugs Alon. She calls him her godfather. Sail Rang is thrilled to find him in this chaotic, bandit-filled area. She promises to personally eliminate these pests to keep her godfather safe. This is the legendary Sail Rang, the Golden Lightning, and one of Kelowna's elite Baba Yagas. Ever since receiving his letter, she has been eagerly waiting for Alon. Bystanders wonder who this man is, getting treated so warmly by the Golden Lightning. Sail Rang happily introduces her guild, which is made up entirely of her own beast race. Entering the castle, everyone greets their chief, and Ralga reports that all is quiet. Ralga also makes sure to welcome Sail Rang's guest of honor with deep, genuine respect. Sail Rang explains that she treats her entire staff like her own beloved family. She adds that Alon and Yusha rank right after them, since they are not blood relatives. They barely even talk, yet Alon is ranked 3rd, which completely shocks him. Alon ponders how to start the conversation, while Evan brings out plenty of goods to sell. Sail Rang gets incredibly excited and immediately agrees to help her godfather. Even without blood ties, he is her savior, and she is dedicated to supporting him. After all, he is the reason she could reunite her entire race. Suddenly, she spots something. It perfectly matches the description of the legendary Golden Mane tribe's essence. Her people are ready to help without hesitation. Alon is surprisingly good at making allies. She physically picks Alon up, telling him he needs to rest after such a grueling journey. She asks about their trip, knowing the harsh desert sand must have been a nightmare. Evan admits he is worried about the return trip, given the heat and the constant ambushes. Lon explains how the notorious Bloody Sand bandits keep targeting innocent merchants. Since they cannot afford another run-in, Sail Rang quietly begins to formulate a plan. She's going to handle this threat for her benefactor. Soon, she arrives at the enemy hideout. This is the main base of the massive Bloody Sand bandit network. Arming herself with her heavy gauntlets, she begins slaughtering them for daring to threaten her godfather. She unleashes Golden Lightning, crushing the bandits with devastating blows. She obliterates everyone in her path until she confronts the leader, Kelman's younger brother. He smugly claims to be under the protection of the strongest Baba Yaga in the region. He warns her not to pick a fight, oblivious that he crossed her benefactor. Messing with her godfather was his first mistake, and it is going to be his last. With a massive lightning explosion, she completely ends the life of Kelman's younger brother. The next morning, Alan wakes up to some shocking news. To his surprise, every single member of the Bloody Sand Bandits has been wiped out. Seolrang happily explains she did all of this just to earn his praise. Since that gang had hundreds of elite, night-level fighters, Alan is deeply impressed by her strength. Her strength is unreal, proving she was destined to become the sin of pride. With her incredible power established, they head over to the city's main attraction, the Grand Colosseum. It is a brutal arena in Kelowna, steeped in the blood and madness of legendary gladiators. In fact, one of Kelowna's 4 Baba Yagas is a gladiator who dominated this arena. After a long and brutal fight, Kamen claims victory. He immediately goes to speak with a man. He cannot believe they thought they could defeat a Baba Yaga with hundreds of men. Ralga claims that the Bloody Sand Bandits were wiped out by Seolrang. He knows his brother was involved, but it is actually just a rumor. He spread that rumor himself to keep him close and maintain absolute control. Colin will follow through. Executing this secret plan during an official match between Baba Yagas is completely impossible. He is highly annoyed by Alan, who keeps causing major trouble back in Kelowna. He will use this excuse to make the public accept Serman's death and justify his revenge. He wants to eliminate Alan. Since Rala came to him, it means he is ready to help. He hands over a gift from their father, the Seeker, saying the boy will gain power. He can gain immense power by using the orbs and spheres of the underworld. Together, they will devour Kelowna's underworld and set their sights on the throne. After using these relics, they will run an experiment to see how long he can endure. 2 days later, protected and guided by the guild, they head toward their destination. They arrive at the ruins of the ancient city of Curara and immediately split up. Our hero and Evan navigate a dark, gloomy path using only a small lantern. Enormous towering structures loom before them in this lost city. Suddenly, a voice calls out. The mage hears the words clearly, instructing him to come in its direction. Our hero must descend alone. Evan waits outside while our hero enters the chamber. The voice tells him that hearing it proves he meets the minimum requirements. Our hero almost calls this entity a shadow uterus, but quickly corrects himself. Approaching the mass, he addresses it as the Perverse, which is its true name. The Perverse admits he is worth taking a risk, but his lack of class is a problem. Without the proper class, it cannot do anything. That class is how the world judges a person. An outer god is descending soon. Yes, you heard that right, a literal god. After that, he will have to fulfill the correct conditions to continue their conversation. Someone far superior to the fools, who merely imitate magic, has finally arrived. Because of this, it will share an incredibly interesting fact with our protagonist. It explains that magic is the law designated to this world by the Archmage. The magic of this world is simply a manifestation of one's true nature. After every phrase comes a powerful, fundamental principle. What he manifests with that phrase must be controlled according to that principle. One must recite the true name for it to be pure, absolute magic. Our hero has never heard of such a principle, and the Perverse chuckles. He wouldn't understand it anyway, so it will teach him through practice. Meanwhile, Seolrang notices that her benefactor is taking far too long to return. Suddenly, the older brother finds her, easily knocking one of her henchmen to the ground. She asks how Kamen dares to commit such an outrage outside the Colosseum. He already knows she wiped out the Bloody Sand Bandits along with his younger brother. Claiming this is revenge for his family, he charges directly at her. She pursues him, screaming at him not to touch her family while unleashing deadly spells. They clash fiercely in combat as she desperately fights to protect her loved ones. Kamen had already anticipated her intense, burning hatred for him. Just when you think she has a chance, she takes a brutal hit to the back. Ralga calls her too obvious and betrays her, knowing Seolrang has an incredibly strong attachment to her family. And betrays her trust. Seolrang has strong family ties and she simply did not want to believe Ralga could ever betray her like this. Her tribe always praised her leadership, making her feel truly happy. They were her real family. She deeply missed those warm days together. Her only dream after leaving the orphanage was to rebuild that tribe. She wanted revenge against the black dragon that had ruined everything. She just wanted her family back, a deep instinct for golden mane descendants. Their bloodline always holds a fierce, unbreakable bond with their own kin. But sadly, some do not care about blood, which is exactly why Ralga betrayed her. Now her own brother is yelling at Ralga to stop wasting time. They want her dead right now. A massive gauntlet swings forward, unleashing a wild burst of crackling lightning. Kamen mocks her, calling her a coward who only knows how to run. Yet he had to draw dark power from the abyss just to land that hit. She lunges with a counterpunch, their heavy blows colliding with a deafening crash. That is when Ralga sneaks in from behind, swinging a pitch-black abyssal blade. She flips through the air to dodge the lethal strike, leaving him frustrated. He wonders how long she can survive against the raw power of the abyss. Together with Kamen, he unleashes a relentless barrage of strikes, but she keeps dodging. She springs off a nearby boulder, launching a lightning-infused kick straight at them. It is a solid hit, but Ralga barely even flinches from the impact. Kamen gets sent flying into the stone wall, coughing up blood from the shockwave. Just then, her benefactor casually walks out of the cave like nothing is happening. Seeing an incredibly easy target, one of the betrayers rushes to take him hostage. But Ralga stays focused on Xiao Rang, keeping her pinned down in close combat. Watch closely, they clash at breakneck speed, but something is terribly wrong. That first backstab was laced with poison, and now her body is refusing to move. Haga sneers and asks if she actually believed they gathered just to play family. It was all a lie to steal the sacred power of the Golden Mane tribe. They only wanted her out of the way to take that legendary gauntlet. He mocks her for acting tough just because she wielded such an overpowered weapon. Yet even knowing they used her, the bond they shared felt real to her. She truly believed she had finally found a home and a real family again. Haga laughs. He calls her naive daydream absolutely pathetic. The harsh truth sets in. Everyone in her tribe secretly despised her. They believe her sacred power belongs to someone far more worthy than a weakling. As he raises his dark energy blade to end her, someone intervenes. A brutal strike slams into Kamen, sending him crashing hard onto the ground. The savior is none other than Alan, leaving Ralga completely frozen in shock. Sensing a strange aura around them, Alan notices dark threads of magical corruption. It is the unmistakable trace of a forbidden abyssal entity acting from the shadows. These terrifying dark beings usually dwell deep inside that mysterious black cube. For years, fans have debated the secrets of this object. Alan realizes Xiao Rang has been utterly betrayed by her own people. Knowing he possesses supreme healing magic, he steps in to neutralize the poison. As he cleanses her body, he gently reminds her that not everyone has abandoned her. She realized the guild had been a happy place until this moment. Heartbroken and devastated by what just happened, she wipes her tears and presses onward. She continues to hold firm. Her family awaits her, so she charges forward. Striking with her gauntlet, she fights as Alan prepares his ice magic. With only one final ice spell left, he casts it now, amplified. A freezing maelstrom erupts, utterous notes he knew only the words. Words alone alter laws, while phrases serve as keys that bring one much closer. Losing their great legacy left only impossible, fragmented abbreviations. Now he invokes the renown of a snowy mountain, pure power. Finally, he uses the phrase pen of the blind to unleash this ice torrent. In his mind, Utterous voice speaks of the forgotten ice spear. Mages forgot it, but Alan calls it a glorious halberd, painted with shimmering ice crystals. Enormous ice crystals hurtle directly towards Kamen and Halga, fast. Seeing the massive attack hurtling forward, Halga knows he must defend himself with absolute haste. He wields the ice crystal halberd, sending it flying towards the enemy. The blow is incredibly powerful, but Halga manages to perceive it. Taking the hit to his chest, his defensive ring manages to completely deflect the impact. A massive ice barrier erupts, leaving Evan completely surprised. A giant ice shard pierces the enemies, impaling them all. Impaled by ice, Halga utters his final words, swearing that he must eliminate our protagonist. But the villain actually breaks free from the icy prison. If he controls the essence, he can start over. He leaps forward. He leaps forward like a demon, running our hero through with the sword of the abyss. As Alan coughs up blood, Cial rages and kicks him away. The fight is over. The blade only grazed him, spilling no real blood. He only coughed because his mana was completely depleted, causing intense strain on his body. He remembers Kalen's warning about Chuchu's father finding him a nuisance. He still has no idea what that warning meant, but it is over. It is a massive relief, especially when facing dangerous opponents who have absorbed the abyss. He must always be careful around those possessed by the abyss. He recalls the third restriction used against a god who twisted worldly laws. And he knows that when he faces a god, his own power only grows stronger. He decides to cheer Xiao up rather than sink into darkness. But she is devastated that her master got hurt, blaming herself entirely. Alan gently reassures her, saying he believed in her ability to block the fatal strike. Tearfully, she asks why he got hurt, saving her from the attack. For him, it was pure reflex. He raised her like his own daughter. He needs no justification to protect his family, though her only family was her tribe. But now she earnestly wishes to join Alan's family, for good. It feels just like an adoptive father, finally getting recognized after many long, quiet years. Hearing her call him father fills him with pure happiness. Then she suddenly suggests they get married, leaving them both completely and utterly shocked. 5 days later, word of Kamen's brutal atrocities spreads everywhere. People are shocked by the absolute cowardice of the Baba Yaga. Yet Kamen and Halga still somehow gain enough support to claim the grand title. She suddenly wants to marry Seo, leaving him completely clueless, though her cuteness actually made him pretty happy. At first, since she is so adorable, but this is actually her 19th proposal. He only considers her family, yet she insists on making her beloved benefactor happy. She is sure they should get married, but Seo is not on board. He would be perfectly content with sweet potatoes and a peaceful, quiet, noble life. He refuses to deal with marriage drama, hoping she will just give up if he stays silent. After they part ways, the entire guild starts restructuring to better match his personal ideals. Meanwhile, Sue's relatives are absolutely furious and terrified over Halga's sudden betrayal. For her, just gathering the tribe is not true happiness, even in life-or-death moments. Her dream family is built on absolute, unwavering trust in one another. So she starts playing it safe and plans a special guard to protect her benefactor. That is the only way they can be happy forever. Then, Evan delivers a warning. The Information Guild has 0 suspects except for Halga's dangerous men. Seo raised this girl too well to let anything bad happen to her now. He is warned to watch out for other outer gods in the near future. Seo only understands basic deities, clueless about what cosmic terrors lie beyond them. As endless questions pile up, he suddenly remembers a dark warning from the shadow. The wicked entity told him about a mysterious tower recorded far east of the fortress. This fortress in Kurara holds secrets he is finally able to read and comprehend. Armed with knowledge, he deciphers the tablet, but the gods are still highly metaphorical. None of his gamer knowledge connects to the bizarre things written here. It makes him wonder why these outer gods are being described in reverse. Normally, they are entities of pure faith or beings hailing from alien worlds. Yet here, the true gods are actually listed as the 5 cardinal sins. Labeling the cardinal sins as outer gods is a massive, head-scratching mystery for him. Wait, here is the real shocker. Dio's defeated Reinhardt, the first sword. Seo never expected him to get this strong in just 6 months. The kid has insane talent. Meanwhile, Rena has successfully secured a seat on Lania's 3 ruling councils. At the same time, Ronan unified 5 archipelagos to become the ultimate pirate. He now boasts a bounty in the millions, matching the legendary first pirate king. He went from a lowly pirate to a legendary pirate king, while Yusha is declaring war. This conflict exploded because Seo announced at the meeting that he would marry Sue. Hearing he would marry the Great Moon left everyone shocked and filled Yusha with pure hatred. Yusha immediately notices that her rival is trying to exaggerate as usual. The girl stubbornly insists she will marry him and become the perfect wife. Yusha shoots that down instantly, arguing they are all nothing but his shadows. She tries to fight back, but Yusha firmly retorts they must remain by his side unmarried. Seo chimes in, saying that what the Great Moon wants is what matters most. The white-haired girl sadly retorts that he would never actually choose her anyway. When she asked if he hated her, he admitted that was not the case at all. Still, she is blowing things out of proportion, acting like a wedding is officially on. As the truth comes out, Dios recalls seeing something truly magnificent a year ago. A chillingly calm demeanor, as if he had walked through hell countless times. He could not gauge Seo's strength and doubted himself against that overwhelming magical power. Yet Seo defeated Tourist anyway. Dios admires him and vows to grow even stronger. To become his wife, 2 hours later, the heavy conversation continues at the meeting. Dios tries to push an ultimatum, but Yusha interrupts, declaring that the girl cannot marry him. As they bicker, the Blue Moon semi-annual meeting notes reveal two strict rules. First, Dios cannot be questioned about the Great Moon. Second, regarding Yusha, any involvement with the Great Moon is strictly forbidden, since she would ultimately act childish, a completely fresh side to her. Meanwhile, in the dark alleys of the Asteria Kingdom capital, an alliance is whispered about, a secret plot to completely overthrow the powerful Cow faction. The aristocratic leader, Marcus Phil Boyd, warns that Alan is a major threat. Then the realist faction leader, Duke Haringgrave, pitches a dangerous move. They can seize the Holy Rosary Kingdom using a powerful reform letter. Since it is the heart of their religion, the kingdom would crumble. This letter allows them to target anyone suspected of heresy across borders. To send it, multiple cardinals must back it, giving the document immense authority. It acts as a brutal excuse, demanding half of the cardinals bribe money. They strike a deal and wrap up the talks with their allies. This dark plan will unfold soon, leaving the final details to corrupt priests. They raise a toast to celebrate the birth of their new unified faction. Even with 8 subordinates serving the saint and pope, everyone is incredibly busy. In fact, this is only the second time they have actually met. He greets Cardinal Sergios, asking to use his name for a reform letter. It targets Count Palatio, a deal that could bring major benefits to them. This would easily frame Alan for heresy, but oh man, there is a massive catch. He is asking Cardinal Yusha, who happens to be Alan Palatio's daughter. With a cold smile, she asks if he really wants her help to ruin her father. Unfazed, the priest claims they will look into Cardinal Viendra's suspicious death. He tells her she should understand her role and stay quiet. Plus, he wants to keep the massive bribe money all to himself. Suddenly, Yusha strikes him down, sending him crashing to the floor, bleeding. She is absolutely furious that he dared plot against the man she worships. As she unleashes her terrifying magic to torture him, nearby guards feel the chill. She whispers that no one is coming to save him, no matter how loud he screams. The agonizing torture drains his body. Still, she does not stop. He screams for mercy, but she refuses to show even a shred of pity. Kneeling, he begs, pleading for his life or a quick death instead. But she demands he suffer for even thinking of harming her precious Alan. Dark tentacles erupt from her body, slowly wrapping around him to drain his soul. She commands him to confess his sins. Meanwhile, a month passes in a flash. Returning from the vast desert, his preparations are finally almost complete. Alan readies himself to attend the Grand Magic Conference as a faction leader. He aims to secretly investigate terrifying entities from the abyss and outer gods. First, he secures an official certificate confirming his rank and hefty new salary. The sheer amount of gold completely blows away his expectations. Having been dead broke before, he is highly motivated to earn even more. Yet he still has absolutely no clue how a magic faction actually operates. Just to make a fortune, since cash is the ultimate cure-all, he basically sold himself. That is the absolute magic of modern capitalism for you, down at the Vidium. Marquis Summit, rumors spread about some elite heavyweights attending. But then Alan runs straight into Zenonia and Althea, the faction leaders. He casually tells them he is doing fine. Soon, he sets off with these two criminal masterminds, only to get dragged into a massive mess by accident. Then Evan drops some news. The realist leader got a reform warning. He immediately fled to the Holy Kingdom. Alan feels incredibly relieved to hear this. He did not want to face that guy. Suddenly, an old man approaches. The elder is shaking, begging Alan for help with something he lost. He bows and pleads for mercy. The crowd freezes in absolute disbelief. This is Phil Boyd, the proud leader of the nobles, bowing low. In high society, pride is everything. Lowering your head like this basically means giving up your power. Zenonia watches this, utterly stunned. She cannot believe Alan pulled this off, yet he stays completely cool. It is like he planned it. In truth, Phil Boyd got a weird letter days ago. It looked exactly like a reform notice, accompanied by a magic orb. The device played a 5-second clip. The cardinal's voice warned him to read the letter and watch the moon. The holy man was screaming in agony. He yelled that they made a mistake while showing Duke Ringgrave. The Duke had received one too. Then the orb broke, warning Boyd he was next. He only wanted to ruin Count Palatio politically. Now he is terrified. This makes no sense. Usually, a reform letter just ends your career. Your actual life is not supposed to be in danger unless you are a heretic. Yet Duke Ringgrave, who had zero ties to heretics, faced total doom. That is why he believes Alan is pulling the strings. But get this, the real horror is that Boyd knows he is the next target. He just wants to survive, so he kneels right in front of Alan. He promises to quit politics forever if Alan will just spare him. Alan is confused. He asks Zenonia and Althea what they are plotting. Are they finally showing their true colors as the masterminds of Hysteria? Actually, they are clueless. They assumed Count Palatio was the big boss. This clears up the mystery. Althea and Zenonia did not use the Count to control the Kalpa for their own selfish gains. 3 days later, Alan heads east to attend a major magic conference. While traveling, news reaches them about the letter sent to Phil Boyd. The noble has apparently fled. Alan looks at Evan and swears. He had nothing to do with it. He promises to be more lenient from now on. In truth, he just wanted to escape that incredibly tense situation. Soon they arrive in Lania, the legendary city of labyrinths. It is a massive hub for brave adventurers and dangerous exploration. Since the 5 top guilds operate here, Alan's reputation is already legendary. Rumors say he beat 1,000 men alone. These guild masters are monsters. Aldrich, commander of the Iron Blood Guild, aims to hunt a beast. On the 20th floor, they took a massive payout, but things feel weird. They suspect a trap, but he already explored over 50 floors and knows his way out. Escaping should be easy. Soon, they arrive at the 20th floor of the labyrinth. The girl points toward a strange figure ahead, realizing it looks like a goblin from behind. Normally, this is the absolute weakest monster around, but something feels pretty off. His clothes look like they came from the east, and his posture is incredibly bizarre. This grain-skinned, white-haired man mutters that they are making way too much noise. With a simple flick of his finger, he wipes the entire squad out instantly. Horrified, the faction leader charges forward, unleashing a massive spinning aerial strike with his axe. But the monster barely raises a single finger, completely vaporizing him on the spot. Just like that, the arrogant king of hungry specters begins his ascent toward the surface. Meanwhile, Penha arrives at a massive tower, towering far above the clouds. There he reunites with Leon, a familiar face he has not seen in quite some time. Since the conference starts tomorrow, Penha decides to spend his free time visiting the library. Leon points him in the right direction, though she cannot tag along with him. She mentions that the Green Magic Tower is presenting a brand new theory during the duels. But a sudden clash with the Blue Tower's Vice Master leaves Leon quite upset. This Vice Master is ridiculously arrogant, refusing to drop the argument and keeps boasting. She brags that even 20 rank 5 mages would not stand a chance against her. Then she glares at Leon, calling her a weak novice who got crushed last year. But the moment she catches sight of Penha, all of her pride instantly vanishes. She quickly bows in deep respect. Asteroid mentions it has been 6 months since they met. She politely asks how he is doing, completely unable to speak to him informally. She remains incredibly tense and nervous the entire time she stands by his side. Seriously, the other mages think they are dreaming, since she is usually so stuck up. She tells everyone they should get along, and Penha offers a polite apology. Once she leaves, he realizes things feel more awkward every time they meet. Leon laughs, noting that crazy woman actually knows some manners when he is around. Penha knows she is hot-headed, but he does not think she is completely insane. Just then, a knight walks up and asks if Leon came all this way to see him. He doesn't recognize Penha, so Leon formally introduces him as Count Palatio. The knight smiles, introducing himself as Baru, son of the Purple Tower Master. Penha has absolutely no memory of encountering this guy back in the game. Baru tells Leon she will definitely fall for him eventually before walking away. Leon explains he is a rank 4 mage who loves stealing others' research to mock them. Still, Penha admits he must be a genius to reach rank 4 so young. In this world, every single rank makes a massive difference in sheer power. She leads him directly to the library, which is located on the 38th floor. They plan to meet up at the presentation tomorrow, and Penha heads inside. Arriving on the 38th floor, he begins searching for his 2 specific targets. First, he spins the clock hands to 12. Next, he finds the untitled black book. Placing his hand on the cover, reveals a secret compartment containing the Ring of Radiance. He is finally able to claim this incredible, highly powerful ring for himself. The following day, right after the presentation, everyone gathers at the duel venue. Wait, out of nowhere, Beru steps forward and boldly challenges Count Palatio to a fight. Manhwa realizes this is all because of Leon, who looks incredibly guilty about the situation. As they discussed marriage, Beru approached and offered tips regarding the great mage who helped defeat an outer god. In truth, Beru wanted more influence than just being the son of the Tower Master, boasting about his role in defeating that outer god and surviving a Baba Yaga ambush. He saw that Alan Palacio's reputation had skyrocketed among other mages, but assumed it was a massive exaggeration that failed to reflect his actual strength. In fact, checking the ring, he saw Alan was only rank 3. Beru dismissed him as a fraud hiding behind pride, planning to use him as a stepping stone for his own climb, suggesting a friendly duel. Thoroughly annoyed by his smug attitude, Alan Palacio accepts the challenge. Looks can be deceiving because Beru is a complete and total disaster. With lethal magic strictly forbidden, the duel officially gets underway. Immediately, Beru raises his wand to unleash a powerful purple spell. Now watch closely, this is where that arrogance backfires beautifully as his feet freeze. Alan Palacio's frost magic spreads rapidly, completely locking down the entire arena. Activating the Ring of Radiance, he unleashes the glory of the Snowlands. The battle ends in seconds, leaving the Green Tower leader completely stunned. As Pioneer apologizes directly to his defeated disciple, amidst all the absurd rumors about Alan Palacio, the master wanted to see his skills. In person, Alan's mana pool appears surprisingly small, showing no signs of high rank. Knowledge is power, yet rising with such limited mana is incredibly rare. Shattering all expectations, Alan Palacio proves he is far stronger than their prejudices. Everyone is shocked as he executes a perfect triple combination magic. Even a rank 5 mage would struggle with this. They wonder how he achieved it, spotting the powerful relic on his finger and another on his wrist. Utilizing these ancient magical artifacts, Alan deploys a unique rotation technique, leaving Beru with zero escape routes. It is an elimination spell belonging to the Violet Tower. Known as K. Milan, the frost detonates in precise, concentrated bursts, instantly freezing Beru. The undisputed winner is Alan Palacio, leaving them questioning how he structured this matrix. The Green Tower leader inquires about the spell, referencing classic catalyst methods from ancient texts. But Alan points out that their logic is archaic and outdated. Utilizing a long-lost method, Alan modestly claims he is only rank 3. Everyone admires his humility. Afterward, Alan withdraws to a quiet space, realizing the memory of the Black Eye artifact was incredibly useful. It acts as an enhanced memorizer that stores and amplifies his spells. Furthermore, when ice magic is cast in frozen lands, the glory of the snow-capped mountains activates to bypass usual restrictions, consuming 3 out of his 5 magic slots. Yet, when using the black box ring, he receives massive amplification, letting him utilize all 5 slots at will. He finally mastered the glory of the snow-capped mountains, a rare spell that instantly freezes the surrounding air upon its swift activation. He recalls the wicked entity, mentioning the core sentences acting as keys to access the fundamental laws of magic once fully understood. This allows him to interfere with the actual laws of nature, rather than just altering simple properties. Alan used to use his unique enchantment strictly as a direct mana enhancer. He decides to rest and prepare for the evening conference on the 38th floor. Arriving exactly on schedule, Alan solves the enigma without showing a single hint of panic. He ignores the eerie voice from beyond and successfully unravels the grand riddle. This legendary figure inspired both absolute terror and deep adoration in the game. She is a walking calamity, known as the Chalice of the Primordial. The first human to reach rank 8 since the era of Forgotten Gods, Archmage Heinkel. One wrong move here, and it would be instant death for Alan. Gamers used to call Heinkel the Retry Witch due to her unforgiving nature. Picking the wrong dialogue option meant a swift and brutal game over. Defending Milk in her presence earned her the terrifying nickname of Milk Witch. Alan felt the crushing weight of her sheer pressure radiating toward him. He was ready to deploy his defenses, but then she spotted something behind him. A dark, menacing aura manifested, revealing a single, glowing red eye. Watching her freeze up, Alon wonders if there was some massive misunderstanding. Realizing she is not a giant monster like in the game, he notes she is actually quite short. Shaking with fear, she hastily hands over an item before vanishing in a flash. It is as if she is absolutely terrified of him, leaving Alon happy with his easy reward. The next day, Alon attends the academic presentations at the magical conference. He realizes studying alongside Lian is much better than practicing alone. While Alon excels at mana control, Lian has an incredible gift for spell frameworks. This makes their partnership highly effective, though she remains baffled by one thing. She is constantly amazed that a mage this skilled is only rank 3. With his progress surging, Alon contemplates attempting rank 4 spells very soon. News breaks on the 4th day that an outer god has entered the Lartania labyrinth. The Info Guild reports this descent has already begun altering the dungeon layout. Alon instructs Evan to prepare a carriage and send word for an immediate departure. Pina is shocked by how quickly he is moving, but still wishes him a safe journey. As they set off, her farewell lacks any real sense of sadness or regret. Leaving the surprisingly cheerful Pina behind, they embark on their long trek. After traveling for several days, their carriage finally arrives in the labyrinth city of Lartania. Evan notes that Hina has been climbing the guild ranks at an unbelievable speed. In this world, money makes almost anything possible, especially in high society. Praisers hold immense influence here, which makes getting a meeting quite a headache. Evan explains they have an emergency and need to inform Renee of their arrival. He demands the receptionist let her know that Count Palatio is officially here. The clerk scoffs, claiming every pushy customer today boasted about their high status. He demands 3,000 gold coins if they want to enter without an appointment. Alon knows that is enough to buy a mansion, and a regular meeting takes 10 months. Just then Livold Greystone, the arrogant son of the city lord, swaggeringly interrupts. He casually tosses a heavy bag of gold to buy his way inside to see Renee. Before he can, Renee steps out herself and flatly rejects the spoiled noble. She delivers a clean punch to his face and politely bows to Alon. Her staff stands stunned, watching the notoriously cold girl show such deep, genuine respect. Reen flatly tells the pushy creep to scram, even though he insists he has deep ties with the 3 councils, warning she will regret it. Meanwhile, Alon worries he brought trouble right to her doorstep, but she casually brushes it off without a care. Word is the local lord obsessively spoils his bratty son. Reen received Alon's letter noting he can always count on her, despite the chaotic start to their day. She and Alon share a warm reunion. The other kids view him as a savior. And he wonders why she suddenly calls him godfather. It just feels right to her. Alon knows Reen is like a daughter who grew up too fast, independent and sharp. Right now, he has a massive favor to ask. He needs some pull to join the Outer God Suppression Unit, but admits he will back off if it is too troublesome because of all the drama that happened before. Reen asks if he is actually that worried about the Lord's spoiled son. Honestly, he just did not want to cause unnecessary friction for her. She promises she will handle everything, telling him to get some well-deserved rest. Alon notices how strictly she follows her own set of rules, having Reen's backing on this brings immense relief, though the real hurdle is the stubborn members of the unit. Suddenly, Alon drifts off to sleep, stopping mid-sentence. The next morning, he wakes up, and she casually announces that she has already solved his request. Now she wants him to join the major strategy meeting, telling him to forget about Livold and Greystone. She casually admits she gave him a clean elimination. Livold was a total parasite, so Lartania is better off without him, but Alon is absolutely shocked by his death. In the game, Lartania's subquest showed Livold was behind horrifying chimera experiments and massacres. But killing him is like executing a major royal figure. Reen noticed Alon's distress and simply ended the annoyance for him, adding that he also has absolutely zero reason to ever fear the 3 councils. Even if she considers him her godfather, Alon thinks this is going way too far. She's currently a major wild card, leaving him to deeply wonder how she even survived against those mercenaries. He carefully asks if her brutal, blunt attitude will cause any major future problems down the line. Alon notices her looking slightly downcast after ensuring there were absolutely no loose ends left. Alon realizes they just have completely different ways of thinking. Realizes she does not actually regret her bold actions. She is just deeply flustered in front of her godfather, Alon gently asks her not to jeopardize his current peaceful life, and Reen accepts this as her ultimate duty while seeing no issue. Instead, she eagerly offers to show Alon the lurker's eye while he is there. She has been smoothly collecting these marks without any issues using the lurker's eye. Alon knows this boosts the strength of black-marked artifacts, though originally it was just a basic support tool with no extra functions, meant only to evaluate items below a set mana limit. The shop's entire fame relies on this highly special trick explaining her warm welcome, but after 400 marks the collection speed drops off, meaning she will only finish the task years from now. Alon is not sure what she is collecting, so she wraps up her brief report. Together, they head directly to the conference room, where Alon finally meets the Outer God Suppression Unit, confronting the leader of the fourth of the great tracker guilds. Mayan, though, thinks the rumors are fake. He dislikes our hero instantly. Next is Maverick, the Earth Nomad leader, who commands the third great guild. Then we see Riemann, the leader of the second guild, the mighty Arcadia faction. And finally, Argonia, the leader of the Kalamadra guild, stands at the absolute top. Our hero knows these mercenaries only respect one thing: pure strength. They are extremely hostile, so he must earn their respect right now. To do that, he unleashes a blast of freezing cold. He has two reasons for joining this raid. First, to freeze everything. The reason is simple: an outer god cannot be stopped by normal force. Second, he desperately needs these powerful mercenaries to follow his lead. So he decides to show off a little with a flashy spell combination. The guild leaders completely misinterpret this, thinking the noble wants to fight. Our protagonist claims they asked for it, but they think he is overstepping his bounds. Swords are drawn instantly. Our hero realizes he made a massive mistake. He immediately cancels his magic, realizing his risky provocation might have gone too far. This whole scene actually mirrors a special quest from the original game. Everything always follows the same path. If Argonia recognizes him, they are safe. He stops his spell, and Argonia actually tells her men to stand down. She admits they were the ones who underestimated his power first. Our hero asks when they descend. She replies it will be in 2 days. Because of the chaos, the rest of the meeting is postponed until tomorrow. He leaves shaking, swearing to himself never to take such risks again. The blonde fighter asks why she let that arrogant noble walk away. Another leader replies that Argonia actually just saved Maverick's life. She is confused, but if that attack landed, Maverick was dead. Suddenly, a deep voice speaks to Argonia, a memory of her father. When the black eye reveals itself in the sky, never acknowledge it. And if possible, rip out his memories. A great dragon gave this warning to her. He instructed his daughter to remember this. Now, she is absolutely certain of it. This is the warning her mother gave her hundreds of years ago. Who exactly is this human? She could clearly see a bizarre, spectral eye behind him. The next day, he worries about the meeting, but it goes surprisingly well. They accept his plan without a single complaint, ending in total agreement. Hinan stays still. Min remains silent. His plan worked out perfectly. Using his detailed game knowledge has proved to be an absolute lifesaver once again. With preparations finished, they begin their descent to clear the labyrinth. Looking closely, there is no way he could do this alone. Meow suddenly asks if he hates beastmen. The Count quickly denies it. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, she asks if he wants to make a feline baby. She says they have come to understand what they need to know about each other. Our hero is completely stunned by her wild offer. She is still useful, though. She knows exactly how strong he is, and her tribe values raw strength above all else. Even so, he flatly refuses her bizarre proposal to start a family. Riina quickly steps in, calling her words completely vulgar and offensive to him. She calls Alan her godfather and offers to silence the target, but he declines, saying beastmen think differently. Moving on to day 2 in the labyrinth, their relentless exploration continues. They fight through endless battles until hitting a dead end, sparking instant frustration. Alan worries their progress is too slow since they are still stuck on floor 4. Back in the game, players could advance by meeting strict conditions, like defeating a floor boss. But in reality, they have already wasted half a day just searching for the entrance. Alan wonders about the origin of this massive dungeon, given its sheer size. Just then, Argonia opens a portal and instructs everyone to descend to floor 5. Stepping through, the party emerges in an open-air zone, which is a massive relief. Every fifth floor acts as a safe haven, serving as a perfect save point. They need to make quick preparations, especially with the outer god arriving on the 12th. Fortunately, there is still some time left, but Maverick is already growing restless. Maverick asks what is so amusing about him catching his breath before they move on. Suddenly, they are ambushed by the goblin who killed the hunters. Everyone freezes in shock as the monster easily cuts down several allies instantly. The beast demands to know who dares to look at him so disrespectfully. With a flick of his finger, he unleashes a lethal blade of cutting magic. Alan conjures an ice shield to protect Maverick, urging him to wake up. The gloating demon watches, finding Alan's defensive spell quite fascinating. Alan immediately recognizes Kai's, a notorious figure he remembers from the game. Once a weak monster, Kai's pursued forbidden knowledge and broke the natural laws. He achieved godhood on his own, ascending as the feared king of hungry demons. Hearing Alan speak his name only makes the cruel demon smirk with amusement. By all accounts, Kai's should not have reached this floor for another 3 days. Kai's claims he is in a generous mood, offering them a rare chance to escape. He warns them to flee if they want to live, but Alan orders a battle stance. This is nothing like the Tirabas fight, and honestly, they are in serious trouble. Their foe's divine incarnation has barely begun, giving them a tiny window. Kai's laughs, saying if they insist on choosing death, he will gladly oblige them. The monster swoops down, unleashing a storm of devastating slash magic. Although the blast levels the terrain, the mercenaries survive and counterattack. Kai's is intrigued to spot a unique sword of dissipation among their ranks. Such magic can actually harm outer gods who are not yet fully incarnate. Seeing they came prepared, the party presses the attack with relentless coordination. Kai's easily slips away as the team wipes out the surrounding goblins. Time is ticking fast, and they must finish this battle now to make it out alive. Alan summons the Misty Mountain Ice spell, channeling a massive surge of elemental power. Combining it with his blind pen magic, he launches a colossal frozen stake. Meanwhile, Ryan casts a powerful enchantment from her grimoire to summon massive iron chains. The chains burst from void portals to bind Kai's, but he swiftly maneuvers away. Alan lunges forward, aiming his ice crystal halberd straight at the demon's throat. He knows a single direct hit is all it takes to end the demon. But Kai simply crosses his fingers in an X, easily blocking the massive strike. Dismissing Alan as a mere insect, the monster leaves him completely paralyzed with shock. His prized ice crystal halberd has been shattered into useless, frozen shards. The beast sneers that the human knows nothing and will soon grovel at his feet. Even in this weak, imperfect state, he figures it will be a fun little game. Speaking the words release and tremble, black tentacles surge toward the mercenary crew. Calling out expand, he swells the dark magic to wipe out fighters. More lives gone, he invokes the unknown principle to finish them. A blinding blast erupts, leaving a massive, smoking crater gouged into the earth. Before the stunned survivors can recover, his finger flicks another sharp slice. No escape, Mean desperately leaps forward to save his dying ally. Meanwhile, the villain watches with amusement, eager to see how Alan entertains him. Alan never expected Kai's to wield phases and chants, leaving him completely stunned. A massive gap divides them, spanning both raw magical power and strategic intellect. Total defeat, they are outclassed on every single level of combat. With everything on the line, Alan unleashes the legendary Misty Mountain magic. Channeling every drop of mana, he invokes the phrase of resolution through his ring. Next comes the phrase revolution, making his spell swell into a freezing storm. A massive ring of ice forms, firing outward at a blinding, impossible speed. Seeing his defense hold, Alan quickly calls out to Reincarnated for backup. Kai's only mocks their stubborn stand, angering Alan with his arrogant, teasing grin. The monster plays with them like a cruel cat toy, enjoying their growing despair. No breathing room, Alan struggles to block the invisible wind blades. Too fast, his mana drains and frostbite numbs his hands. He chugs 5 mana potions at once, immediately feeling the brutal physical backlash. As Kai's closes the distance, Alan signals Reincarnated to strike with her heavy chains. Summoning portals, she casts her spell while Alan grips the pen of the blind. He unleashes its power to offset a penalty, trying to bend the world laws. A deadly trade, rewriting reality is pushing him to his absolute limit. The agonizing backlash hits him hard, recalling what the Wicked One once told him. He must find a way to extract everything, forcing Alan to bet on his last resort. The Wicked One claimed that true magic always progresses from the phrase to the principle. It is the ultimate manifestation of one's true inner nature and soul. But Alan wonders what could possibly exist beyond the ultimate principle itself. Searching desperately for a clue, his eyes lock onto a strange, glowing mark. Realization and illusion share the same root, and mastering this grants the key. An eerie, mysterious voice echoes from beyond, guiding his hand in the dark. Following the voice's command, Alan taps into his core essence and awakens. Kai's recoils in shock, sensing a deeply unsettling presence rising before him. Another strike, Kai's easily shatters Reinur's defensive chains in one hit. Alan grabs her arm to pull her back, taking a brutal, bloody slash instead. With Badazri's magical sign complete, the ice spear morphs into a giant key. The massive crystal reshapes, locking itself firmly into the core of the ice. With a heavy click, he turns the massive ice crystal painted halberd. He places his hand on the magical artifact, making the giant key turn. A massive glacier erupts from the ground, soaring high above the battlefield. It towers over the entire plain, proving mages can dictate the laws of reality. They shape the world to their will, rewriting nature like ink from a pen. He forced nature itself to bend. Look at the massive glacier he just conjured. To him, this magic is pure self-expression. Yet Kailas somehow shatters this towering mountain of ice, showcasing a shocking level of advanced magic. That power should be out of his reach. Even so, Kailas takes a devastating hit, leaving his body weak and utterly frozen. Had he fully manifested, blocking this spell would have been easy. Alan dismisses that theory as nonsense. Kais readily agrees, admitting his defeat. As his form disintegrates in the air, Alan collapses, completely drained. After pushing his mana to the absolute limit, Renee rushes over, trying desperate measures. To save him, when Alan finally wakes with a splitting headache, he finds himself all alone. He is resting inside the suppression unit's camp, still far too weak to even sit up. At least nerve paralysis can eventually be cured. Abusing mana potions and suffering poisoning leads to this painful state. A regular person would face permanent mana blockages, but he is just incredibly grateful to survive. Meanwhile, Ryan is thrilled to see her godfather finally awake. He was out cold for an entire day, his mind still foggy from the poison. She reassures him that Meowen is healing fast despite the deep wounds, while Argonia barely survived. Making it through that near-death experience left Argonia wondering if she actually has dragon ancestry. Ryan then asks her godfather why he saved her. Wondering if her life was truly worth risking the entire mission, Alan flinches from a sudden surge of physical pain but quickly hides it. Ryan presses on, calling his rescue reckless since he nearly died shielding her from Kai's deadly strike. Even to complete the Lurker's Eye, she views his sacrifice as highly inefficient. But Alan gently explains he never adopted these children just to exploit them. He realizes they all mistakenly believed they were just pawns being raised by a destined villain. In truth, he has always looked at each of them as his real family. Saving her was only natural, mirroring how she had saved him in the past. Their bond is a two-way street, free from cold profit and exploitation. She originally assumed she was just a weapon made to purge the black pests. Now understanding Alan Patio's deep, genuine warmth, her heart is filled with pure happiness. 5 days later, he recovers enough strength to finally start moving around. When he asks Argonia if she can travel, she admits she can barely manage. Still, they push forward, escaping the labyrinth after 3 arduous days. Upon their return, Evan asks how they got so battered, upset that his master left him behind and returned covered in wounds. He believed the guild leaders would keep everyone completely safe. Instead, they all came back gravely injured. If Evan, who normally has no role in this game event, had joined, it likely would have ruined the plan. As glorious rumors praising the suppression unit echo across the entire region, it is finally time to depart for Merida, boarding a quiet carriage. Ryan sweet-talks her godfather, asking for his birthday so she can prepare a future gift. Alan admits to Evan he is not too excited about it, since he gets plenty of presents anyway, but Evan insists it will be different. With the children throwing the party, Alan wonders if she might send a magical artifact. As a birthday gift, Ryan feels incredibly happy to finally have a family, but since the Great Moon is their ultimate absolute being, their deep faith and devotion are completely undeniable. Victory was only natural in his mind, but then things shifted. He slowly recognized he was getting much closer to a word that once meant absolutely nothing. And that word was family. Now, the term godfather became a true symbol of respect. It truly defined their bond, and she would move mountains to protect it. She is ready to act instantly if her godfather ever needs her. So she starts planning a very special birthday gift for the man who saved her life. To her, taking over the Lord's castle seems like a decent start for a first gift. Summer fades into a harsh winter. He recovered. The poison is gone, leaving him to face mountains of endless paperwork. Evan announces a special delivery from Altia, along with a magic crystal. The young lady connects through the communication crystal, eager to deliver her first official report. As the new faction leader, he still cannot get used to a duke bowing to him. She explains how the Cal faction has been managing his secret requests. And by yesterday, the entire Asteria underworld fell right into their direct control. She warmly congratulates him on their massive, sudden victory. Honestly, he only suggested cleaning up the entire underworld on a completely passing, random whim. His casual words actually became reality. Governing dozens of ruthless criminal syndicates should have been completely impossible. Yet she claims his quick defeat of the rival faction leaders made everything incredibly easy. In his mind, they did all the heavy lifting, not him. But they clearly see him as the mastermind. Next, she asks if they should overthrow the king. Terrified, he quickly tells them to keep things peaceful and immediately ends the official call. Just like that, a simple shadow master becomes the supreme underworld ruler. Talk about an accidental promotion. Out of nowhere, a high-ranking official royal invitation finally arrives. The king himself has ordered Alan Palatio to attend the grand ball. This is a direct royal command, meaning there is absolutely no room for any refusal. He only wanted a quiet, lazy life, and now this happens. Deep within the dangerous fifth floor of the labyrinth, a mysterious figure watches him very carefully. They find his progress highly amusing, wondering if he can survive what comes next. Back outside, he highly suspects the queen has summoned him solely because of the Cal faction. Queen Cayenne Cretinia is the legendary bearer of the Golden Archives. This unique power is passed directly down the royal bloodline. It allows her to instantly inherit strength like game data. She can easily transfer all of her immense power directly to her young descendants. This incredible skill serves as the ultimate symbol of her absolute authority. In the original game, she briefly aids the main players when the Five Sins attack. Her power is absolute, and now she is targeting the chaotic underworld. Cayenne was so popular that players constantly made memes about her. They called her a guardian dragon, which gives him a bit of hope. Perhaps this whole situation will finally keep the Wild Cal faction in check. As long as he avoids her direct wrath, he can easily maintain his peaceful, quiet lifestyle. He is just an observer here, so everything should play out fine. Surely everything will go smoothly since he is not looking for trouble. Meanwhile, a ruthless, angry bandit forcefully stomps on the poor man wearing an eye mask. The masked man is dead, eliminated just as they were ordered to do. Deep inside the palace, the purple-haired lord orders his men to move fast. They must eliminate his target immediately, or he will report them to their guild master. Baldy realizes the danger. If things go south, he will end up as the scapegoat. Then he spots a gruesome warning left behind, a terrifying anti-decomposition spell. Talk about high stress. Their boss will absolutely lose his mind if their perfect streak breaks. Maintaining that 100% success rate is everything. Clearly, Alan Palatio is no joke. Desperate for real answers, Baldy decides to seek out Caliburn. But the moment he slips behind his target, the man senses him instantly. Baldy cursed his sloppy approach. Still, he unsheathes his massive scythe, ready to strike. He corners his target, demanding everything he knows about Alan Palatio. Benefactor or not, when your life is on the line, loyalty goes out the window. But as he moves to threaten God Melon, razor-sharp wires wrap around his neck. Looking up, he sees bodies suspended in massive spiderwebs, pure evil spirits. God Melon immediately recognizes this bald intruder as another agent of darkness. The tightening steel threads completely paralyze his limbs, shutting down any counterattack. Blood spills as the deadly web closes in. Meet Malian, the master of these threads. Meanwhile, Alan Palatio is stuck in a highly chaotic alliance meeting. From marriage proposals to wild political debates, things are getting messy. Surprisingly, Renee is desperately trying to calm Xiaoring down, a truly rare sight. Renee wants to propose a new deal to Yusha regarding the looming threat. She insists on delivering the surveillance reports herself, making Yusha wonder why. It is not a matter of trust. Renee just wants an excuse to see Alon. As she speaks, an unusually warm smile spreads across her face, surprising everyone. Just then, Godmelon enters the room covered in blood, apologizing for the delay. Before starting the formal meeting, he brings up a critical security threat. A dangerous group, known as the Agents, has set their sights on their faction. Of the 15 total enemies, he has already put down 3, leaving 12 remaining. He has tracked down several targets, and the fighters are itching for a fight. But first, they need to gather intel and measure the enemy's true strength. However, when Haddam suggests taking a cautious approach, the others immediately push back. Can you believe that? They actually call him a traitor just for wanting to plan ahead. Haddam simply wants to understand what they are up against before charging in. Facing intense pressure, he backs down, telling them to do whatever they want. Yusha quickly gets the meeting back on track before things get completely derailed. Haddam is privately fuming. He would never betray the group after everything. They gave him the power to seek his revenge. His loyalty is absolute. Even so, he cannot ignore how blindly fanatical his comrades have become. Meanwhile, back at the royal castle in Asteria, a new scene unfolds. Lon Palatio arrives and slowly climbs the grand stairs of the imperial palace. The once-shunned outcast now commands so much influence that nobles trail his footsteps. But Alon absolutely hates the attention. He is not looking to be a leader. They think he is leading a charge against the queen herself, which is absurd. Still, if they all get dragged down with him, his plan becomes easier. With a crowd of eager nobles following behind, Alon steps inside. The sheer scale of the royal palace is breathtaking, hiding secrets within. The aristocratic and royalist schemes are obvious. They tag along because, fully expecting the queen to ruthlessly scold the Chaos faction, all he can do is listen patiently to the reprimand and bow his head in silence. He arrives, greeting the supreme sovereign. Ruling over the kingdom of Asteria, Queen Cyan Cretinia asks if he is Count Palatio. The defeated noble factions eagerly anticipate the upcoming public scolding he is about to endure. But wait, she unexpectedly elevates him to Marquis. Right then,